Look at that.
Oh.
Look at that. We're I think we're live.
1 second.
I'm 1 seconding.
I'm learning to.
Oh. Look at that. We got the little happy thing. Where are you? There you go. Oh. I haven't been using my bell that much.
You should.
You got me the bell so I could use the bell.
Oh.
Wait. I'm done. What happened? Okay.
In Twitch, it's.
Ooh.
We're supposed to shush.
SHUSH.
SHU. Oh, yes.
Touch boat with a sh.
There it goes. Hey! Oh, we're a minute in.
Oh, look at that. Hi, everybody.
Sorry, I had to.
We had technical difficulty.
Technically, yeah, Twitch was like, you can't use that title.
What title did you use?
I said, How to Murder J.D. McGibney.
Oh, well, thank you, Twitch, for sticking up for me.
Yeah. And then I was like, oh, you mean J.D.
Oh, wait, what?
What is today's show about, J.D.?
That's a good question. What is today's show about, JD? I am right, because I wrote it. Learning to kill your babies in creative outlets and life. That sounds like a really good topic.
Yeah. What do you think it's about? What does that mean?
I think
To Jew.
to Jew.
Yeah. No, to Jew, not to me.
Jamaica.
Jamaica.
You're making me laugh over here.
Just hurts me.
I love senses of humor. That title to me means.
What's it mean?
The first part of it sounds like someone who is
Yeah, an answer. What do you?
absorbed in their own creation. Whereas the second is the moral of the story, which is learning to let go of the things that you've created and to look at things objectively.
And we're going to explore how I Am Right, because I wrote it, destroys relationships, creative outlets, and upward mobility. What's upward mobility?
Ability to grow in life and in your career.
Yeah, career, anything, right? Okay. Have you ever felt like you were? Do you feel? How do you feel about this? Do you feel this is close to? You're not like this, right?
I'm not like that. No,
You're not. You're not. Like
not
this?
anymore.
Not. Oh, when did you? Oh, you just changed yesterday.
I didn't. Just
You changed your pants. You're like, oh shit. You're doing it right now.
I'm not.
You're not. You know what cognitive dissonance is?
I'm very aware of what cognitive dissonance is.
All right. Let's prove. So we're literally going to prove and disprove today.
I figured that's why that is the topic.
All right. But your stance is. Wait, let me write it down.
My stance is that I do not do that.
Do what?
Say that I am right because I wrote it.
See that right there, what you just did is literally what today's show's about. You manipulated the truth of the narrative to make you right, so you are not devalued in this
But you asked me.
sentiment. No, what I asked you is not what you answered, which also is in today's.
So then,
you didn't listen. You just needed to be right, and what you need to be right on is there's no way this can be you. And how do you justify it? I am right because I wrote it. I've never said that.
I didn't say that. I said that I'm not like that anymore, implying that I was very much like that.
What? You said I was going to write it down. You said I've never said I am right because I wrote it.
No.
Oh, what are you saying? All right, wait. Before you write anything, because I think it's going to be one of those days. I'm going to have to pull up a writing sheet.
I said that I used to be like that. I
Wait,
am no longer like
calm
that.
down. You know,
That is what I said.
I know. I didn't want to get into arguments today.
All right.
So I'm just going to write down what you say and then literally just focus on what you said, not what you mean.
Okay.
Because we are supposed to say what we mean
Yes,
and not imply what we said.
I agree.
All right. So you're saying you used to be like this,
Yes,
but you are no longer like this.
correct.
All right. Let me just write that. I used to be like this, or that. That or this. What do you want?
Whatever you prefer.
But it's your words.
I used to be like that,
Okay.
but I am no longer like that.
But I am no longer like that. And what are you referring to?
the thought of I am right because I wrote it. I do not think at this point in time that I am right just because I write something.
Ah, see, now I know. You did exactly what I said you did. Because you're saying it's based on solely the words I am right because I wrote it. And you're not using the narrative of learning to kill your babies in creative outlets and life. You're just making it a creative statement and not like a life statement. You're saying just creatively, I don't do that. Which is only one part of the equation for today's show.
I see what you're talking about.
So you focused it only on the thing you could be right on, which I don't necessarily, because I've never been in a situation where I can prove or disprove that statement. But what I have dealt with, and not in a new situation, I would have to suggest that is not a correct statement. But it may be changed. I just have not been in a new situation
to experience
the change. My last experience with you creatively was it's my way or the highway. Right. So, but are you also saying that, do you agree life too? You don't do this for life?
I do not make a conscious effort to do that. There are times where I get abrasive, sometimes where I'm challenged, but then it turns into I'm trying to understand the concept of what's going on, not necessarily to prove that I am right.
Do you feel you are right before you are wrong?
What?
Do you feel you are right before you are wrong? Do you feel you are right before you are wrong?
Sometimes. There are some times where I come up with something like, there's no way this can be right. But then there are some times where I'm like, oh, this is what I believe. This has to be right. And then you and I will get into conversations. You'll give me new information and I will ask for clarification, and then it turns into a heated discussion.
Have you ever been in a situation where somebody said something like information, and because you didn't see or know that information, you suggested that they were instantly wrong, and then the information you provided was the correct information?
I've been in situations where I've cited where I got my information from.
No, you're not listening to me. You literally ignored my question. Have you ever been in a situation where someone gave information, and because you didn't know it was accurate or saw it, and you instantly said they were wrong, and then the information you provided was the absolute correct information?
I'm sure that I have.
You had to have been. We just did this.
When did we just do that?
On live radio. When I said, ooh, the 12-foot walrus. You go, no!
Oh, yeah, that.
That's literally what I just asked you.
Then yes.
All right, good. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. See what's going on? You're literally doing what the show is about today.
Interesting.
You're finding loopholes and ways to prove that, no, I never necessarily said I was right? You're not giving straightforward answers, or, as we're going to go into today, taking responsibility.
Oh.
You know what I'm talking about?
I do now.
It's all right. I have the thing to write down your words, so I don't have to worry about what you had said, and you can't change it today, because I'll just literally just look at it. I'll be like, what did you say? And then I'll write what your new thing is, and I'll go, does this look like what you just said? And you're like, damn it.
Can we just get you like little hats that have like the title of what you're doing? Like we need like a little hat that says stenographer.
I don't want to be a stenographer. I want to be somebody that can have a conversation with somebody that can acknowledge what the previous thing they said was the same thing that we are talking about, not the new information that you gave to replace the information you had said.
Oh.
That's the hat I want. And I don't care how big it has to be, but I wanted to say all of that.
It's just like this yoga.
Yeah.
Yosemite Sam hat.
So anyway, today we're going to talk about the position people hold, which is the I am right and there's no way I could be wrong mentality, and then learning to kill your babies in creative outlets in life. And what that is talking about is, sometimes we find ourselves in a situation that it can put us in a devalued state, or our worth is being diminished. And all it is either a conversation or a creative, like, how can my idea for this thing be bad? I created it. I thought of it. It has to be good. Why can't we explore it? And sometimes it could be a good idea, but it doesn't fit the narrative or the purpose of the mission. So it doesn't mean it's a bad idea. It just means It's your idea and not necessarily helping the evolution of something, either a commitment, a relationship, or a creative endeavor. So, firstly, a common belief is that it is a mask for insecurity, and it often is. What are your thoughts on that? Wait, one second.
I agree.
I agree. Oh. All right, I don't have to really debate that. How do you agree with that? What are your thoughts on it?
Speaking from personal experience.
Oh, really?
That's all I can really, speak from. Is that in the past there have been moments where I've
Wait.
been
You're making up a
confident.
statement. In the past. This isn't current.
This is not current.
You don't do this anymore. In the past.
In the past,
Yeah.
I've been in situations where I have not felt confident in my abilities. So when somebody questioned me, I've felt the need to validate and prove my point.
Yeah.
More importantly, prove my point. I do feel, unfortunately, sometimes I need to validate my my actions, which
Not anymore.
no. I mean, right
today.
now I'm saying that
Okay.
I still have moments where I feel like I need to
Yeah.
validate my actions,
I have moments.
which is something that I'm personally working to get over. But there have been times where I've gotten into discussions or arguments where I'm like, oh, this information that I'm providing is right, and just have been stubborn about it.
Which, by the way, is exactly what we're talking about. But in the beginning, you were clarifying that it was mostly you were talking on a creative endeavor. And that's what I'm talking about. Like now you're admitting to the second half of the question, but you ignored that part and just focused on the part. But that's a subconscious thing. And that's what we're talking about today is about changing the brain.
Being aware of one's subconscious decisions.
Yeah, you were consciously going, wait, I know for a fact that I don't do the art thing again. But that was also not a fact because we've explained that there's no evidence of that. There's only evidence to the contrary, right?
Well, you said that the last thing we did creatively was my way or the highway.
Yes, correct. Which means that statement can't be accurate at that point.
But I disagree with that one, though.
I don't.
Well, the last thing we did creatively.
Can we do a spoken word? No.
I said yes.
How did you say yes instantly?
Not to the first thing.
So
Well, there has been a second thing since then, which is still your turn to give me the parts.
But how did we get to the second thing?
We had a discussion.
We had a long battle of a discussion that lasted days upon days that we ended up having to trash the first concept so we can make a compromise, which I didn't want to make a compromise. I just wanted to work on something. But I had to get you to compromise so I can artistically involve myself. And then we ended up not even using the spoken word. But my point was that I did not have creative control over your first request, which was, let's write a song together. But I was proving that you didn't want to write a song together. You just wanted to write a song and you wanted me to put something to it that made you feel like it was a good thing. But that was not it. That's the my way or the highway because you had the proposition. The second time was we came to a proposition together. Whereas the first time you literally said, I would like to write a song with you. But then you literally wrote the song, the foundation of it, which means you didn't want.
Yeah,
so then I started throwing ideas.
The instruments.
Yeah. So then, you wrote this. You
That's
know how writing a song.
Yes,
right?
I'm just clarifying.
No,
for everyone listening.
You're validating that there weren't other instruments. But
no, I said there were other instruments.
I thought it was just. Oh, well, anyway.
I'm saying like I wrote everything.
You wrote everything, and then
I wrote all I did not. I wrote all of like the instrumentations. What I'm saying.
But he didn't tell me. He just wanted me to work on words and maybe add vocals, right? So I started like giving. I was like, why don't we do this? And he's like, no, I don't like that. And then he thought I was joking, quote unquote, which, by the way, is not a collaborative energy.
It is not.
It's not, right? To assume I am joking. Even if I was joking, you didn't even amuse the idea. And that's it's my way or the highway mentality. You got it?
I got you.
So you still agree with that? That's how that went. You don't agree that that's my way or the highway?
I agree that that is my way or the highway.
Well, there you go.
I do not agree that that was the last thing we worked on.
That is the last thing we worked on that you proposed. The second thing should not have been a long discussion to get to.
I agree with that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I'm agreeing with you on that account.
He's not getting it. I don't think you're listening. Which, by the way, is in today's show.
I disagree that I am not listening.
What are we talking about?
We're talking about me saying, we're talking about me going, it's my way or the highway.
It is your way or the highway. We just proved it. With you asking me to do something with you. And if I had to struggle to get to the second compromise position, that is proof that it is still my way or the highway, because it shouldn't be a struggling compromise.
It shouldn't have been a struggling compromise, but I disagree that I disagree that there hasn't been a change, because if there was no change, there wouldn't have been a second thing. Both of us would have been like, no, never mind.
What was the compromise, JD?
To literally just write something together from scratch.
No, it wasn't. What was the compromise?
The way that we had it was one of us writes a riff, and then it goes back to the other person.
Correct.
And it goes back and forth.
Now, why do we come down to that?
Because you don't like jamming.
No, it has nothing to do. You don't jam. You don't know how to jam. You solo over a riff, which is not jamming by definition.
I agree with that.
So I don't like jamming like that. I love jamming. I was jazz. I did blues. I did funk. I did rock, and I jazzed many a times with an entire ensemble. I know how to jam.
I know you know how to jam.
But when you go, let's jam, and the first thing I do in your basement in LA, you start soloing. I'm like, oh, he doesn't want to jam. He just wants a whittle. So then I'm like, all right, I'm good, because it's not fun to me if music isn't being created. Like soloing isn't music to me. That's like, look at what I can do. Not that I can, like, hey,
no, I got
you can play that, but that's not jamming. When you say let's jam and then you don't jam, I'm like, all right, well, I don't want to do this. And then I stop. Or like when someone's like, show me what you can do on the guitar. I'm like,
no.
And I just play stupid stuff. And they go, oh, I thought you were good. I go, I'm good enough not to have to prove it. I like just jamming to create sound. Like, I don't want to just.
Which we have never done.
Yeah, because your go-to move is a solo. Like even when you write a riff, I'll be on the other side of the computer. And I just hear you writing a riff. And it's like, oh, he's working on a riff. And then next thing it's in a loop. And then you're just going. And I'm like, what is this kid doing? This ain't writing. And then I'm like, maybe he's not writing. Maybe he's just playing around. And then he starts putting the riff into a computer and then starts writing out the solo. I was like, all right. It's not a judgment. That's
I know. I'm listening.
Yeah, just one choice.
I'm listening to the story.
It's a very good story. I'm just saying. Anyway. All right. So insecurity. So do you think you have insecurity?
Of course.
On what?
Most things that I do.
Is that true?
That is 100% true.
See, folks, he's honest.
I am.
All right. Let's move on to that. Okay. Secondly, did you know modern society tends to push people who are not right because so many things have turned into a pointless argument of who's right?
Modern society tends to push people who are not right, because so many things have turned into a pointless argument of who's right.
Yeah, I do this all the time, dude.
When you say modern society pushes people who are not right, what does that mean?
It means that, let's say you and I are in a discussion, and you believe you are right, and I know you are wrong. There will be times when I just accept, and I'll just make jokes, and I won't try to convert. Because I have no interest in you being right. You know what I'm saying? Because you aren't. But I don't need to prove to you that you are right. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no point to it. So people do that naturally. So then what happens is you go on and we perpetuate wrong.
Yeah.
Because you're going to go on forever saying hazel eyes is your eye color. You know what I'm saying? And you're like, but I grew up my entire life like this. But it doesn't mean you are right.
I read it wrong. It's punish, not push. I was reading as push.
Yeah. Right. So, but it's still the point is still. So we try to make ourselves right, and we try to. And I don't like fighting the who's right thing all the time. Sometimes it's so insane that I'm like, what are you talking about? And I have to understand why you think something. Because it's like if it's an absolute. I think that's where our conversation go more aggressively with absolutes than you're right or wrong. Because I will laugh at your wrongness.
I definitely have a tendency to over-exaggerate by using an absolute in a statement.
Which means that it instantly makes it wrong.
Yes.
Especially like, it's exactly the same part.
I see, I have that thing where
it can't be.
I get over-dramatic, and therefore I use the absolutes.
I understand.
And that's where I think a lot of our discussions and arguments come from, is the fact that,
Yeah, I don't believe something is an absolute.
You're just like,
It cannot be an absolute. There has to be a gray area. Like
this is just a very dark gray. This is my last show, everybody.
gray is a lightened black or a darkened white. You could go either way, right? But gray is not a color. Gray is a defined representation of another color with a specific property. It's like pink doesn't really exist. Pink is just red with white.
Or white with red.
Or white with red. All right. Anyway. So the thing is, when you don't have to have a position that you're right. Like you don't have to stand firm to be right, especially when you don't have enough data to prove you're right, right? Because just because you know something to be right doesn't mean it is right.
Because there's no proof that you have all of the data.
Yeah, it's like when we were talking the other day, and I said I wasn't being violent, and you said I was, and I was like, I was not being violent, and then you were like. And you read out the definition.
It's very important that the word intention is in the definition for.
Of course it is, but I already knew that.
I did not.
I understand.
I bequeathed my stance of being correct to say that I was right.
But one of the things I said in the beginning was, do you feel you were right before you were wrong? Remember I asked you that?
And then I said yes.
Right? Yeah. And in that situation, you felt you were right before you were wrong, which is not a growing perspective. I knew I was right. Why?
I'm assuming because you had the definition in your brain?
Well, because not only am I a writer, but words are important to me. And I study words, and it's part of my expertise. I literally get paid for words.
You do get paid for words.
Right? That's like if you and I were talking, if you were talking to a mechanic and the mechanic gave you any knowledge on doing mechanic work, and you have some limited knowledge based on something you did with like a parent or an uncle, there's no way you can have the right position. You can be right on some things, but in that situation, you can't be in the right position. Why is that?
Because that person has more knowledge than I do.
No, because they are the expert. Specifically that they are the expert. Right?
Gotcha.
So when it comes to words, I would be the expert because I know how words work. I'm very good with utilizing words. So when I said I was not being violent, right, and you're like, yes, you were, I instantly was more angry because I'm like, why is he telling me something that is not true? Like you were saying I was being violent when I knew that wasn't a true statement, but you knew you were right until you had to prove to yourself you were wrong. But you were, I do not believe you were searching out the definition to prove you were wrong. I think you were searching the definition to prove that you were right. Right?
Probably.
Were you like, oh, I know I'm right. Let me just make sure I'm right. Or was it like, right?
Yes.
Yeah, you're trying to prove you're right. And then you're reading and you're like, ah, son of a bitch.
And then I very quickly accepted that I was wrong.
Well,
with the proof.
Yeah, because there's nothing you could say to be right.
Yeah, because there was the proof proving me wrong.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, in that situation, you took the I am right stance against an expert. Like, I can't be an expert in Judaism if I'm talking. Well, I probably could, because I study religion, but
and your brother's rabbi.
And my brother's rabbi. But what I'm saying is like let's say we're talking about I don't know, what are you good at?
Annoying you.
Coffee. No, wait, I know a lot about coffee.
I mean, I know a lot about annoying you, so I could be an expert in that.
All right, but I can't have a stance on it. I can't come into the conversation right. I can come into the conversation to learn. I could have stances that I believe are right, but I can't going in right. It's like taking a class with a professor. All right, and you're 18 and they're 60. All right, and you sit in that class going, I already know this stuff. Right, so you already know what's right. And then the professor says something, you go, that's wrong. And the professor's like, well, why is it wrong? And it's like, because that doesn't work. And you go, why doesn't it work? Because that's not how it's done. But you're not explaining how it's wrong, how it doesn't work, and how it's done. You're just saying it. That's because you believe it is right.
That doesn't make any sense.
Exactly. So when you said I was being violent and you believed I was being violent, you were the kid.
I was being the kid in that situation.
Right? So can you learn and grow from that moment?
I can learn from what happened, yes.
Well, it took you the ego of trying to validate your worth to be proven right and then be proven wrong, and then accepting that you were wrong. But you didn't start at the stance you were wrong, or that there was a chance you were wrong. There was a chance I was totally wrong. And that's why you looked up the definition. But the thing is that the habit change is to go, I don't know everything when I'm dealing with an expert. There's things I can't have deep conversation. Like my brother started talking to me about,
Astrophysics.
Yeah, I'd be like, oh. A lot of times when my brother talks to me, I don't ever give him any like lip. I may make fun of things, but I don't talk to him even in things I'm knowledgeable about. I just let him talk because I know that that's his area of expertise, is just absorbing
information.
Yeah. So even though I am quite versed in many things, I still do not tell him he's wrong. What I will do is hear his information, and I will go double check the information, not to be right, but to understand how he is right.
That makes sense.
Right? So like our conversation about the voice change.
Oh yeah, with like a gas in a room and sound. He was
suggesting the aspect of it. And I was like, no, you're not, it's not going through your lungs. We're just talking through the air. And he was like, oh, but that's a different conversation. He was right. If you suck air into your body and it goes through your lungs and your vocal cords, it's going to change the entire timbre of your voice. Why?
Because it's physically touching your vocal cords.
Yeah, it's radiating through. But to talk through a substance doesn't change the timbre of your voice. So your voice wouldn't change. The velocity of your voice, which is when you talk about the pushback, the pressure, or the ability to go through a substance, would be muffled, but the quality of your voice would maintain its integrity.
Yes.
The timbre.
Yes, which was not what I was arguing in our conversation, because I believe we established.
We already established it.
We were having two different conversations.
Yeah. He was talking about the slightest molecule change. All right, thirdly, admitting one is wrong in the workplace can have dramatic consequences. What does that mean?
It means that when you're working in a professional capacity,
yeah,
it's all right to be wrong, because that's how we learn and grow and work together.
Well, yeah, all right. So you're taking dramatic consequences as a positive thing.
Yes. Oh, was that supposed to be like?
Well, this is the reason we do the lying. This is the reason why
this is like an assumption people make.
No, this is what happens.
Well, that people just get like horribly reprimanded for being wrong.
It's not that they get reprimanded. It's that if I am wrong, my value at this company is going to be diminished. So I cannot be wrong. So now I got to do everything I can to prove I am right, including looking up the definition and then realizing, oh crap, I'm wrong, which then adds to the anxiety. Because it's like,
so we put the pressure on ourselves, is what you're saying.
Absolutely. Because there's nothing wrong
with being wrong.
Yet the brain is focused on, if I am wrong, it's bad. But it's literally a positive thing to be wrong.
Because you can learn from the experience.
Because it is a high quality value for a person to go, I actually don't know. Can you tell me? Because giving the floor to somebody is power. Because they think they're in control, but really you're in control because you just gave them the floor.
So you just Jedi mind trick those people.
Jedi, that's part of the tank. All right, fourthly, you have people who exhibit intellectual elitism and can't help but demonstrate how superior their knowledge is by pointing out when others are wrong. That's what I do. Except for the fact that I'm not trying to demonstrate how superior I am. I'm trying to understand. And I tell you this often. I go, it's not about what you said. I'm trying to understand the behavior of the choice of what you said, because that's more intriguing to me.
Is this understanding people's motivations?
Yeah. The behavior, like I don't care. Like I've even said it earlier in this episode. I usually get more confrontational with the absolute than I am with you being wrong. When you're wrong, I just laugh for it. Or sometimes when it's something silly, like the other night, I was like, corn comes from Mexico, and everyone, you know, I didn't really have a confirmation of agreement, and I was just like, okay, like because I didn't care. And then everyone picked up their phone, and then it was, you know, it is from Mexico, right? Like, but I didn't care. Like, I didn't give any. I didn't pick up my phone and go, no, it says, you know, like I just didn't care because I don't need to be right. You know, even when I am right.
You're just like, okay.
Okay. But behavior is interesting to me. You know, sometimes people just don't know information, and they just have the assumption of information, and that's fine. You know, whatever. But to try to justify the assumption, because when I know someone's wrong and they're trying to justify this, what do I call it? BS.
Yes.
Right. But it's because the presentation of truth is being convoluted, right?
Because yes, it's being convoluted with someone who's wrong and trying to lie.
Yeah, well, it's not that they are trying; they are actually lying. When you say something is happening when it actually isn't happening, to validate or prove your worth, or to make that what you did or said was positive or valued, that is a lie. So it's not that you are trying to lie; you're actually lying. Trying to lie would be like, all right, so, all right, I don't really have the right words, but fine, I did it. Because you were trying to lie, but you couldn't come up with anything to, you know what I'm saying? The act to try to lie is different than actually lying. Because you either are lying or you're not lying. But if you are trying to lie, it didn't come out.
What?
One cannot try to do something.
One either does or does not do it.
Yeah. Right? But if you do it, you are indeed lying. So once you do lie, there's no act of trying to lie.
It's either you did it or you didn't.
Yeah. You can try to lie in your mind. Should I lie? Should I not lie? You know what? I think I'm going to lie. And then you aren't able to even come up with anything. And now you tried to lie, but poorly. So you did lie poorly. You see?
Yes.
The act of trying or starting or doing isn't a real. That's
so basically what Yoda says is true. Do or do not, there is no try.
Only trying. Anyway,
okay.
So in this situation, I don't believe this is accurate for who I am because I'm not trying to demonstrate superiority, and I focus mostly on the behavior. The behavior is what intrigues me, like just the choice. Like, why make the choice? You know, like,
what's the benefit of it?
Like when you try to justify your behavior, like your answer, and then it comes out the answer is wrong. Like my brain is like, why did he try? Like, what was the point of? I don't understand the justification, and like
or the need to add the justification.
Yeah, or more importantly, like at what point did you realize you're now past the point of no return, and you have to either own up to like, you know what, I'm wrong, or like I'm gonna double down. Like there's a point where you have to just accept either the consequence of now adding that extra BS. Or just going, you know what? I'm going down with the ship. You know, frogs can sing. No, they
We've
can't.
all seen Michigan J. Frog.
That's yeah, but that's an animated frog. But it is a frog. It's an animated frog. Okay, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But people do that. They justify their reality and not the reality of the agreed upon words, right? So that's one of the arguments for how many genders are there. Right. So,
yeah.
So the argument is, if a human is born with 11 fingers, that's the irregularity.
Correct.
But there are people born with 11 fingers.
There are people born with 11 fingers.
Right. But we're not saying people aren't born with 11 fingers. We're just saying the normal scientific general standard is 10. The argument in society right now is to say we understand and we agree that the standard is male and female. But we're saying we would like to change it so there's a status quo of variations on that, right? And the majority has to win on that. And again, if the majority exists, then it's a standard.
Because that's what society is electing.
Yeah. But I agree that even if like let's say there's 1 million people in the world, and 300,000 of them are indeed living with the transgender argument. I feel like this, that's still not a majority. You know what I'm saying?
That is less than half.
So it's not a standard. But I agree 100% with standard behavior. Like whatever the standard is based on majority, that should be the thing we agree on as a society. But once the standard, I also agree that the standard can change.
Which makes sense.
Yeah, I like, just because one, like, these are cups, like, oh, I have a cup. If the majority standard changes to, no, these are dishes, I would start calling it a dish. But the majority of the world would have to agree upon the terminology because it's the majority standard. I agree with that. But like I'm saying, I also agree that it can change and should change if indeed
it does evolve into changing.
Yeah, because, you know.
But what is it? What about say, you know, societal norms that change? Like, what if something changes that goes against what you personally believe, like your moral code? Would you stick with that moral change and be like, oh, society is saying that this is good? Or would you be like, you know, I can't do this? Like, let's say, like, hypothetically, murder becomes okay. Would you be like, I'm not murdering anybody?
You're definitely talking about two different things. But to answer your question specifically, just because society believes something, my morals won't change. My moral barometer on society's morality is different. You know, for example, if somebody was freezing, I have no qualms in them stealing clothes from, like, a store, a jacket.
During winter.
If they're hungry, I have no qualms about someone stealing food from a store.
Because they're surviving. And that takes precedent over everything else.
If society becomes a rape culture or a murder culture, I would not rape or murder just because it was the standard. You know, like, for example, the standard is to drink, do drugs, and smoke when I was younger. And I did not drink, smoke, or do drugs.
And you still do not.
I still do not, and nor have I ever tried. But what I was talking about is the majority standard is just, it's based on acknowledgement of terms.
Gotcha. So, like,
if the standard said this is actually green now, and the majority of the society is like, this is green, like, I'd be like, I have to state it's green if I'm trying to have a conversation, you know? But you can't just be like, this is yellow, and you're like, no, this is red. And just because you believe it's yellow doesn't mean it is yellow.
I get it.
You know?
If I believe that it's yellow, I think that I have to go to the doctor.
Yeah, you would need to.
Wait, what?
All right, and finally, in this grouping, there is a mental health side to the equation, or of the equation. People with mental health issues, like an anxiety disorder, may feel the need to always be right as a way to keep things in their mind. Did you know that?
I did not.
I've said this to you.
But that makes sense.
I've said this to you. I said your choice to be right probably has to do with anxiety. Because your first position is I'm right, which is not a strong position.
Because you need proof.
Well,
instead of just, I have a feeling.
Like, if my position is I am right, it's because I have enough data. Like, I didn't just, it's not hearsay. It's not something I grew up with.
You've done the research.
I've done the research. You know, like,
you have the data.
Yeah, like if it's like I know a little bit about chemistry, but I don't know enough about it to have an opinion. So, you know.
You know enough to know that there is hydrogen and oxygen in water.
Yeah, I know that two down and one over to the, I think, the left is the anti-element. So whatever the element is, 2 down and 1 over, usually is the counter element to that. So arsenic is 2 down and 1 over from carbon.
1 to the left? 2 down, 1 left, or 2 down, 1 right?
2 down, it's left or, I said it's left or right. I don't know, but it's 2 down, you know, and again, here's me, I don't have the exact, but I do know that the formula is 2 down and
1 over.
1 over.
In either direction.
In either direction. And if you look at carbon, you'll see 2 down and 1 over is arsenic.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't know that?
I did not. I did not know enough about chemistry.
But that was so interesting to me that I like absorbed that knowledge, but not enough to memorize
the entire periodic table.
Yeah, like I was like, I don't care. You know. But also, I had this conversation with someone the other day. Did you know oxygen is not air?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because oxygen is an element. There's different things in our air that we are breathing.
Yeah, air is made up of more than oxygen,
Yes,
right? Isn't that interesting?
that is interesting.
And our body absorbs the oxygen and actually pushes out the non-oxygen, and also transforms the oxygen.
Yes, it does. So the trees can breathe. But then they breathe so that we can breathe.
Isn't that an interesting thing, though?
But it's
that's
like the
chemistry.
world.
That's
It's like the
chemistry.
world is like, keeping its own homeostasis, and then we're,
But
interrupting that whole process.
But that's my point. Is like I understand chemistry, certain areas of chem, because that is chemistry,
It is.
right? So I understand that, and I could have a conversation about that. And I know I'm right that air is not oxygen, but oxygen is in air. You know what I'm saying? Like, because what makes up air is a collection of things, but oxygen by itself, by definition, cannot be air.
Correct.
Like it can't be.
You
Right?
can't, because it's just a single element.
It's an element, right? Because air is made up of whatever.
Whatever is in it.
And if oxygen was air, that would mean in every planet that had air, which all planets have air,
It's just a different element.
it's just a different element, right? But anyway, do you agree with this? Do you agree? Do you feel yourself, the anxiety makes you find yourself standing your ground?
It definitely makes me. It puts me in a defensive position a lot.
Yeah, I know. We had several moments. I had to write stuff down
You did.
to prove that. Why is that, you think? Why do you think people do that? Why do you think anxiety forces people to, wait, I know. Actually, what this is saying is that people don't even believe they're wrong because they can't be wrong. Because if they're wrong, oh my God, I'm not worthy. I don't have value. Am I not smart? I know I'm smart. Like all this stuff starts happening in the brain.
It definitely does start happening in the brain, but it's talking about like when I'm dealing with the anxiety, it's definitely a lot of questioning of myself and my abilities. So that's probably explains why there's always that defensive, stance.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Like I used to deal with it all the time, but then I realized to myself I'm not right all the time. But then I started being right all the time, but not feeling right all the time, which is it was a different mindset for me.
Yes.
Like it was, I have to be right. And then it was like, am I right? And it's like, well, I could be wrong. Right.
So you have to do the research to make sure that you're 100% right.
Yeah. But even in that sense, again, knowledge changes, right? The standard can change as we agree, right? So I started getting into conversations where people would say things and I would just be like, I had a friend and they would tell me I was wrong all the time, but I knew I was right because it was like a subject that I was an expert on. And then I would go and I would research it and I'd be like, gosh. And then I would tell them, I go, see, it said, and they were like, yeah, that's what I said. You didn't say that. And I was like,
sounds like gaslighting.
Why do you think I'm not friends with you?
You're like, we're done with this.
But you know what I'm saying? Like that was the crazy, or like I would sing lyrics. I know I'm not very good at like remembering lyrics, but there was some songs that I would just sing all the time and I would sing it and they go, that's not there. And I go, yeah, no, it's totally there. And they're like, no, it's not. And I was like, okay. And then he'd be like, listen. And he put the song on and he'd start doing it. And the lyric comes up and he goes, see, the lyric's there. And I'm like, yes, I know. It's the lyric I said. No, you didn't say that lyric. You said this lyric. And I'd be like, huh. My favorite though was Damaging. There's a part where it's like, go. Right? Okay. And I was,
right before the solo.
right before the solo. And I was like, he goes, he doesn't do that in the song. And I was like, yeah, he absolutely does that in the song. But there's two parts that have the same part before the solo. And then the first part, there was no go. And I was like, oh, damn, maybe I was wrong. And we're listening to it. And he's like, see, you always think you're right. You always think you're right. And all of a sudden, go. I was like, that's exactly where I said it was too. Right before the solo. And then there was this one funny time we were in the.
I mean, that last time was pretty fun.
That is pretty fun. In Island 16,
the movie theater.
The movie theater on Long Island. There's they have these like pre-ads that just kind of like are pictures.
Oh yeah.
And there was this one
for, like the doctor and like the dentist.
But it's the same guy. It's the same guy. There's an eye doctor and he also has a dentistry, right? So I was like, oh, I wonder if we're gonna see the eye doctor in. And he goes, he's not an eye doctor. He's a dentist. And I go, no, he's an eye doctor. You know, because he's an eye doctor. We both were not wrong.
That is really funny.
But this is what happened. I said I wanted him to be an eye doctor, and he said, and the dentist thing comes up. He goes, I told you it was a dentist. And I was like, ah, shit. And then like goes through another ad. And then he pops up and he goes, oh, I guess it's stupid dentist. And he goes, no, actually it says eye doctor. I go, I knew he was an eye doctor. And he goes, is he an eye doctor or a dentist? So we were confused. So now we're just staring at the screen, waiting for this thing to just go in, and boom, it pops up. And he has 2 practices.
That's really funny.
So that was, things like that is funny. But we were both right.
That is really funny though.
But we were also both wrong. Because we were saying he's was
only
like,
the one.
Yeah, he's only the one.
Which is an absolute.
Which is an absolute. But you know, I was young then. All right, let's see.
You're young now.
Here's a reason that people do this. They stand by their they'll what's it called? Standing on the cross. What is it called? They're bearing.
They'll
die on the hill. They'll die
on the hill.
Right.
Yeah.
So the desire
Stick to their guns.
What?
Stick to their guns.
Stick to their guns. The desire to look better than you really are. Do you feel that it happens for you? Like when you like stand your ground and you're like, no, that's right, and like you really like push back and you're like, I know I'm right.
It's not that there's a desire to look better than I am. It's more of just like, it's more of like the anxiety thing where it's like, it's more of a fear of getting in my own head again and just like questioning my ability to retain information. So it's not that like I'm trying to look better than I am. It's like I'm avoiding going down the rabbit hole of like self, deprivation.
But if you feel there's a chance you are wrong, why do you work to be right?
Because most of the time I don't feel that I'm wrong. So it's just like this is the information that I'm recalling.
Yeah.
And then it is what it is. So there's no feel.
There's no way it could be wrong. Because
most of the time, yes. And then you give me. Sometimes we'll have conversations. You'll give me information.
Would you say it's in the 90s where I've changed your knowledge on something?
Probably about there.
90%, like the
majority of the time.
Majority of the time. I still the hazel eye thing is still my favorite because your defense to your truth was, I've known this my whole life. What does that have to do? It has nothing to do with proving you are right. Well, it has to be true. Everyone I know. That was another thing you said. Everyone I know has hazel. It's like, I was like, that doesn't make you right.
That doesn't make me right.
But what I'm saying is like your evidence to truth was I forget the word for it. It's
the data
in court. I think it's just hearsay, but there's another word for it because it's not empirical evidence. It's not. Yeah, because what you're saying is not evidence. It's there's another word for it. It's hearsay, but there's another word for.
I don't know if I don't think it's hearsay because I had physical evidence.
No, you didn't have physical evidence. You created physical evidence because your evidence is not true evidence because it's not proof.
It wasn't all data, but I'm saying it just so happened for 30-something years. The only hazel people, the only. Can't speak.
Yeah, that's why there's another word for it. But what your evidence is
circumstantial.
Circumstantial. But that means what you said was not true. It was true for you, but it doesn't make it true to validate.
Yeah, no, we found that out, and I agree with that.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like that's again, if you have information in your head and you're like, this is right. But if the information has been collected through that lack of actual like knowledge, it doesn't necessarily mean it's right. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, it's been proven.
Many a times.
Yes.
Did you have to think about it many times was an accurate statement? Because you just agreed to 90%, which automatically makes it many a times.
It does make it many a times.
You don't even have to think about it. You don't have to make sure many a times, more or less than 90%.
It's more that I was just making sure that I heard you correctly because I tend to answer questions that are not being asked.
That is true.
So I was making sure that I listened, processed, and then answered.
All right, speaking of listening, people have trouble separating their actions from their character. to them, admitting being wrong or to having done something wrong would be like confessing that there's something wrong about their, and then there's a little, essential selves. I agree with this.
I agree with that too.
Do you ever feel like you're in that situation?
Yes. Which is what I said before, which is like a thing that the anxiety.
I know, I'm just making sure there's a consistency. Yeah. Now, what do you think people should do for this?
Just not be anxious.
Just feel worthy.
Get out of my head. I think it comes down to recognizing when you're having these like anxiety, like triggers, and like really like taking the time to look at them from the outside, and not just like going through like the habit loop of like, oh, this is a trigger, I'm feeling anxious, let me just do my regular reaction and just keep feeding into that loop. It takes a lot of
that's extracted exactly from your book.
It is extracted.
That's exactly from
which
that
is definitely been very helpful.
Verbatim. To break your habits cycling. No. It's like crazy that I know.
I mean, definitely sounds like something I would not say.
I read this in 3 pages. I am an expert. I once had someone tell me that they took they played drums, and then I was like, "You did?" He was like, "Yeah." One time, this person like showed me like a thing on the snare, and I was like, "Oh, did you keep up to practice?" No, just that time. "Oh, you don't play drums?" "Yeah, I do." "You may have played on drums, but you yourself literally do not play drums."
Check, please.
I was like, yeah. I don't let them down about that because it's so funny.
Did someone tell you that they play piano also?
Oh, well, the guy actually did play piano, and he was a classically trained pianist. But the thing he didn't tell me was that was when he was a child. So yes, he was a classically trained pianist, but he was not still well-versed and capable classical. I was like, I wrote everything out. I sent you the stuff. He's like, oh, I don't read sheet music anymore.
You're like,
what? Well, now you can't be a classical pianist. You're only a pianist.
You're just like,
I believe classical pianists are able to read music because they have to be.
Yes.
Right? Anyway. But this is the thing that I don't understand about people. Like I've studied this and really analyzed it, and it just doesn't make sense. Like I don't get why one's behavior is related to their act. Like just because you're wrong, it doesn't devalue your worth. I think it's the other way around. I think if you're wrong and you believe you're right and you keep working to be right and you keep trying to prove you're right, and then maybe you're even proved wrong, and then you're like, there's no way. And then you're like, I am right. And then like the evidence is stacked against you that this is indeed red. You can't have a conversation with that person ever again. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's why today is James. All right, what's next?
Oh.
What's this one say?
People also can feel a deep need to be or appear smart or perfect when they really feel anything but that.
Do you ever feel that?
You don't feel that.
You don't feel perfect?
No.
Or smart?
Not when I'm hanging out with you.
Do you ever like to appear smart?
I like to appear as I am.
All right, so not smart.
I definitely don't feel like I am the smartest person. No.
That's good, because I also don't feel you are the smartest.
Good, we're in agreement finally.
Wait, let me write that down. Just make sure. I don't think I'm the smartest person around either, but I do know that I am a genius, which is
two different things.
Two different things. I don't think I'm the smartest person, but I do believe, based on. But now, to be honest, I don't believe my test results, because if your test results are only a few points away from me, I feel there's something like maybe it's not true. Like maybe it's just the test and it doesn't really determine anything.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, I've taken 2, and I've gotten 2 different ratings.
One was 38 and the other was that. Dude, imagine that. You're like, I don't like the 38. Let me take it again. Ooh. I did better. I'll go an hour.
175.
I think we'd have to go with the average then. No.
Best of 3.
Best of 3. But let's ignore that one.
Best out of 3.
So you took it twice? Was this first one lower or something? Or did you just go with the highest one? And how old were you when it?
The first one I got, I think, was in 6th grade, and I think I took another one like junior high or high school.
Yeah.
And no, I don't think either one is accurate. Mainly, I don't know if either one is accurate because I do not know the grading metrics.
Well, the grading metrics is based on speed, but that speed is to knowledge intake and then execution, and then it's the speed of knowledge intake, and then it's the speed of knowledge intake comprehended into execution. So usually, if you
so basically, how quickly you can take it and answer everything correctly.
Yeah, but the matrix is based on the 3 levels. So it's taking in the information, how quickly you take it in, how quickly you understand it, and how quickly you can implement it. Those are 3 things. So you're being timed on it. And if you remember the test at all, usually it was like you had to read something, or it was like an equation, and then you had to work out the process of the equation, and it wasn't usually multiple choice. If it was multiple choice, I don't think you took.
Yeah, I literally don't remember the exams.
Yeah, I took a test when I was in 10th grade, and that was where I got my high score. And then and then in 8th grade, 6th grade, they put me through a process of tests, not to figure out just my IQ, but to figure out my placement in school. And they couldn't understand my answers.
What?
They couldn't, like, my answers didn't make sense to them. Because they asked like questions, and I gave them like these philosophical explanations at a young age, and they couldn't understand, like like they made me draw something, and they're like, oh, what is that? And I was like, I drew a superhero, and I went into the explanation of the value of a superhero and what really makes the core and the philosophy on that. And they're like, do you feel you are the superhero? And I was like, how can I be the super? It's a super. It has abilities that don't exist. Like we physically can't do these.
It's a made up character.
I was like, if you're talking about the qualities that one could hold, like the values, well, anyone could do that. All right. Do you feel you have the values? I was like, I have many of values, but these are not limited to what I've drawn. Like they were like, just give me the answer. I was like, I'm giving you the answer, but you're asking me for an answer that doesn't make sense because you want a valued answer that has layers. If you were asking me, is this a superhero or not? I can say it is a superhero, right?
That's really funny.
They were just getting frustrated.
I'm just imagining like 6th grade you, but with a full beard.
It was terrible. It was terrible. I hated school.
Yeah, I know. I'm aware.
They literally put me in like a resource room and like special ed classes, and I would just sleep. And then I was always fighting to get out. Like I was always like, get me out. No one cared about it. But I fought. And then like what was it, 9th grade, I got out. And to prove that I deserved to be in special needs classes, they put me in the hardest classes possible.
And you aced them.
And but I also slept through those classes because teaching is slow to me. Because I don't need a teacher. I need
information.
Yeah, give me the data and show me process. They don't show process. They just write out 7 plus 8 is 15. And you're like, but why? All you got to do is show me why, and they couldn't. So I had to figure out the process, and that's how math became interesting to me.
Because you had to figure it out.
Yeah, because 7 and 7 is always going to be 14. So if you just add 1 point to 14, it's 15. So 7 plus 8 is what?
15.
It has to be. But the process is that I didn't like adding. Like 4 plus 7. Oh my God. Right? But we know that 7 and 3 is always going to be 10. So what's one more point.
11
So that's 11.
or 6 and 4.
Or 6 and 4. But how do you figure out 6 and 4 easily? Well, it's even numbers, so it has to be 10. But 6 and 3 would be 9, so you add the 1 extra point. But that's there, you're doing more work. When it comes to odd numbers, when you do odd numbers, what you do is you figure out the even number and then you add the point or the 2 points. But if you have to add 2 points, it's now an even number.
All right, then.
No? Okay. All right, anyway. They also put me in Italian 4, and I aced Italian 4 because I grew up.
Speaking Italian.
Yeah, you know, but they were like,
oh, you're going to fail. No? Okay.
Yeah. And then
Bibbidi boop.
I have a photographic memory. Go ahead.
It looks great in pictures.
All right, excellent. And so when I was in 9th grade, they just started health class for me, and they just did it in gym class. So while I was doing gym, every other day was health class because it was the first year they implemented it in New York, and or at least for longer. And anyway, I moved to Florida, and they had health class there, and
Like an actual class.
Yeah, and they're like, "You didn't take health," and I was like, "No, I definitely took health. In fact, that's the book I did, and I did very well." And they're like, "No, you didn't," and I was like, "Well, I did," and I refused to read the book because I already knew it. And I would pass the test, so then they thought I was cheating. So then they would send me to the principal's office to take the tests.
And then you would take them and ace the test.
And the teacher would be like, "He's cheating," and the principal's like, "No, he doesn't even have a book." Well, how do you know the answers? Because I already read. And then
how is it you were able to tell what are the odds that you were actually telling the truth?
Well, that's the thing. Like, telling the truth is a very hard thing to do because not everyone believes you. It's hard to believe miraculous, you know, and for someone to say a fairly new class, I already took this class. Well, he's a kid. He doesn't want to do the work. He's being lazy. Like that's the mental, because of the standard behavior of most students. But it wasn't that I was being lazy. It's I wanted to take a different class so I can get the most out of school, which is why when they made me go into biology in Longwood, they let me take Mysteries of Science and Nature's Oddballs. And it was instead of, because I don't have the right to do what's needed to be a biology
We're
student.
talking about like the dissecting. And
Yeah, that's not part of my. I don't have time for that. And it's not that it's gross. It's just I don't want to mutilate it. But you know, it's an animal's temple. You know, I don't mind eating it because it's being utilized, but studying it seems weird. So they were like, yeah, no problem. So they gave me 2 extra credits. When I went to Florida, they were like, oh, you didn't take biology. I was like, well, I took 2 electives in place of. And like, no, you got to take biology. So I just sat in biology, and they're like, I go, not until I can work on a cadaver. And they're like, you can't, why would you want to work on a cadaver? Well, I figured maybe we could dig up your grandmother or something and throw it on the table and just cut up into tits or something. And I got in trouble for that. And I was like, well, now you know how I feel about the animals, but you don't know the animals. I go,
I don't know.
I didn't know the grandmother. It's crazy. I was a little, was probably an annoying child. All right, next.
You had some sass to you.
I had a lot of sass because I just wanted to understand. Like I don't like doing things
Just to do things. There needs to be a purpose.
Yeah, you got to learn math. Why? As soon as I understood the value of math, it was easy to learn it because I was like, oh, I got to get the value.
I am going to apply this.
But it wasn't that I didn't want to learn math. It's just no one was telling me why. Or like English. Like, why? Why do I got to learn English? Well, so you could write. Well, what do I need to write? Like, just, why am I learning the alphabet?
So that you can read, so you can communicate.
It helps you write. But why am I only learning this alphabet? Well, because English is the standard in the States, the U.S. All right, well, that makes sense because the majority of people, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, just, not that I don't want to learn it.
Just tell me why.
Yeah, I want to learn why, and no one teaches why. Anyway, sometimes people don't apologize or admit to being wrong because they feel it makes them look weak. What do you think of that?
I think that is true.
No, that's not.
I apologize to you all the time, and you're like, no, you don't need to apologize.
No, you apologize because of the way it makes me feel. You're not apologizing for your behavior. Because you're saying, I'm sorry, I did blah, blah, blah. As if it hurt, like, because I'm hurt, but I'm not hurt, you're doing it. I don't care about your behavior. You know what I'm saying? Like, you do whatever you have to do to be you. I don't like my time being wasted. or when I talk to you, you don't listen to me. You answer stuff that has nothing to do with or you'll take what I said and you'll add data to it, right? That has nothing to do with it. And then I have to go back. Did I say that? No. Did I say this? No. Did I say that? No. Then why would the conclusion be to do this? You know, because in that situation, that's not what I was even talking about. So when you're like, I'm sorry, I don't need you to be apologetic. I just need you to not do it. Especially because if you apologize for something that you're doing all the time, you're not apologizing anymore. You understand?
Yes.
A real apology is just don't do it.
Because actions speak louder than words.
Yeah. Like if you punch a woman and you're like, oh, I'm sorry. And then you hit her again the next day, you're like, there's a chance you're not sorry. No, I am. I'm sorry that you're fucking. Wow. You know what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying.
Apologies don't mean anything to me. They're
empty.
They're empty. And it doesn't matter who it is. It could be God could come down and be like, oh, apologize. I was like, yeah, it shows. Look at this war and famine. Yeah. Why don't you stop the war and famine? No, well, I apologize already. Let it play out. You know what I'm saying?
I placed my bets. I guess what's going.
Yeah. You know what? That's true.
Fair enough. You know, like,
Who'd you bet on? I don't know what you're saying. Ah, crap. So I guess I'll bet for humanity? Yeah, that sounds good. Against humanity? You know, like, apology. Yeah, I don't like apologies.
Just don't do it.
Just don't do it. But I'm also not saying don't do it. But if you are sincerely, not you, just in general.
In general, the royal you.
If somebody is sincerely sorry for something, right? It's not that you should stop your behavior. But if you are sincerely sorry for something, why would you do it again? Right?
Yes.
Because I don't like being punched in the face. Do you like being punched?
I don't like being punched in the face.
So if someone punched you in the face every day, would you stop dealing with that?
I would not be around that person.
So you get what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying.
Do you see why I get frustrated?
I see why you get frustrated.
The other day, though, we did a good thing. I was like, hey, JD, you're asking me for help, but I don't want you to say anything. I don't want you to, I'm telling you right now, you're 100% wrong. There's nothing you can say to say you are right or prove you're right. I just want you to acknowledge you are wrong. Are you wrong? It took you a little bit. And I was like, I know we don't understand why you're wrong. I'm going to explain why you're wrong. But because I am saying you are wrong, I need you to acknowledge that this is wrong. And you're like, yes. Okay.
I very quickly accepted that I was wrong right off the bat.
Yeah, because it was the only way I could move forward, because I didn't need, and I know sometimes there are questions you're asking, well, why is blah, blah, blah. But it's not a matter of why is it, it is wrong. Let's go over why it's wrong. Instead of like, but because sometimes you would say things like, well, you said, or there's this other post, or how come in this one, which is not focused on the thing we're working on. You're using different scenarios to explain a different scenario. The variables are too different.
Well, that's why we're having those. That's why I was asking those questions, is to understand what was going on. Again, those questions at no point were meant to prove me right. It was just so that I can understand the situation.
But the answer for that doesn't help the problem at hand, because they are different variables.
Which is what you explain.
Yeah.
Anytime that those questions come up. But
again,
again,
you would still use other posts to help you write another post.
Because I'm trying to understand an overall concept.
But what I'm saying is, I had already told you that using another post is a different variable to writing a post. You can't. They shouldn't be able to work together.
Yes, you told me that.
But then you kept doing it.
But there are also rules in general that should be applied.
But you weren't applying the rules properly. So you were just learning off of improper execution of rules. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yes, I understand that.
You were practicing improper technique based on improper technique that was just helping you become better at doing it poorly. Right?
Yes.
And that's why I was just like, stop. You can't even look at an old post. Or like if I wrote something, like I write something at an advanced level. So if you're using just one line of mine to justify something you wrote, it's already wrong, right? Like
Yeah.
if you're like, but you used the blank blank word, and I was like, what's that have to do? We're literally on your post. Yeah, but on your post you did this. I go, I did. There's no way I did this because this post.
And then
is
you,
different.
but you explaining that is you clarifying. And what again?
But it's a waste
me,
of time for me.
It's not a waste of time for me because I'm trying to understand the concept.
There's no concept to understand. Is my point. They literally are different rules. That's like you meeting somebody in a boardroom.
But you clarifying that is me understanding. I'm going in, especially with the writing stuff. Is I'm going in as a complete novice. So every little thing I need to absorb.
I understand, but what you're saying and your behavior doesn't make any sense because you're not learning that. Because if I told you once, why do it a second time? If this thing has nothing to do with this, and you cannot acknowledge that to help this post, the second time you do it, now you're wasting my time because you're basically saying, I believed you on the first one, but let's just verify that with the second one. But we're not verifying anything. Again, if you go into a boardroom and you go, Tom, how should I talk with the people in the boardroom? And I give you some technique. And then you use that same technique on a date. And you go, the date went poorly. And I'd be like, why? Well, why do you think it went poorly? And you go, I don't know. You said I can say blank, blank, blank. And I did this. And I was done.
That's for a boardroom. It's a different situation.
But every post is a different situation. You cannot use the same tools into the new post because you're approaching it differently. It's a different scenario. Completely.
Yes, every post is a completely different scene. It's a different scenario.
That's right.
But overall, there are concepts you're trying.
Go ahead.
There's a concept of what you're trying to teach me with like an emotional perspective adventure.
Incorrect. Because you don't need the other posts to show that. You need the tools, and the tools have nothing to do with the post. In fact, if the tools had nothing to do with the post, I could not use the tools to create a quick post for you that I do in literally 5 minutes.
Less.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So you're trying to prove your position right, but it's wrong. And you keep trying to prove that it's okay to go back to the other things because you're trying to do whatever. But the post has nothing to do with a lot of things, including the tools. The tools are their own thing. And you can't compare the tools to this post and then go, how did I use the tool on this post?
Because it's the tool, you're using the tools to create each individual thing. And whatever the variable is gets filtered through the tools. I understand that.
And then that makes that post useless when writing a new post.
Because it is its own thing.
It's its own thing. All you got to do is focus on the tools, which is what I do. I try to focus on the tools. You can't go, oh, I wrote this. All right, tomorrow when I write the new thing, I'm going to write it about something. And I'm going to see how the tool worked for this. And I'm going to try to apply it to this. And then what do you get? You get leapfrogging through narrative. You get, it's telling. It's, oh, it can't be telling. You said I can post telling. But you're not posting telling in the way I actually showed you could do it.
Which you explained.
But what I'm saying is,
because they did not understand the initial thing that you had said.
You were literally doing this, what we're talking about today, and you weren't trying to prove yourself wrong. You were instantly right because I said.
But that is incorrect. I was not trying to prove myself right. I was trying to understand.
Well, you're trying to prove yourself wrong.
I was trying to understand.
Understand what? That it wasn't right.
Yes. I wasn't trying to prove myself right.
But
you gave me information. I was trying to understand the information. I wasn't trying to say I was right and you were wrong.
But you said, right, is validation seeking. What? You're putting the value of blame on me. But you said.
No, I didn't. I'm putting the.
That's what that means. What does me? But you said mean. I know what you mean.
Wait. What are you saying that I said that we're talking about?
But you said. It doesn't matter. That phrase.
Then that is 100% me.
Putting the blame on me.
Which I was not intending.
Which is trying to make you right. Even though you're trying to understand the thing and why it would be wrong. You're not taking responsibility. But you said is the same as saying but in a sentence. Oh, I agree with you. But
well, then I need to make sure that I do not say that because my intention was not to prove me right and say that you were wrong.
I understand. It's a subconscious thing you do. JD,
Thomas.
behavioral patterns are not conscious decisions. You aren't trying to be right consciously, but your behaviors are the behaviors of someone trying to be right.
I understand what that means.
But you don't agree with that statement.
I agree that the behaviors are definitely that of someone who is trying to prove themselves right.
No matter how much you believe you are not trying to be right, your behaviors
Or showing that I'm trying to be right.
And which means you are trying to be right. You aren't choosing to be right. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's in your subconscious, and it's controlling your behavior. The words you choose become a part of the pattern.
So then I have to be aware of when those things come up and make sure that I do not miscommunicate my intentions.
That's fine, but that doesn't mean the past behaviors are not. I know you don't believe you were trying to be right. I know JD, I know what you're doing right now. But it doesn't matter how you feel.
My actions say one thing. My belief.
You can't fucking shoot somebody and tell the judge I didn't want to shoot him, but you did shoot him.
Those are two different things.
Yeah, not wanting to do something and actually doing it are two things. Yeah, but I didn't have intention to shoot them. Then why did you shoot them? You should have just put the gun down. Well, I was fearing for my safety. Well, now you're making excuses. What is it? You didn't intend to shoot them, or you were fearing for your safety? Those are contradictory, right? One of those is your true motives. Do you see how like lawyers corner people?
Yes.
Because you can't. I didn't want to kill them. Well, why did you kill them? Well, I was fearing for my safety. So you were afraid of your safety, but earlier you said that, whatever, like.
Because one's intentions and one's motivations are two different things.
Correct. And you don't go to jail for
intentions.
No, you go to jail for the intention, which is the thing that you're lying about.
Well, you can go to jail of intention if you're planning, if your intention is to do a crime. But that becomes the intention. They will use your motivations to potentially link you to why you would potentially do something.
Motivation is directly linked to intentions.
Is it?
Your motivation of not wanting to kill somebody is not a thing. Because if you kill them, what was your true motivation?
Yes, what has driven you to do the thing that you did?
Yeah, so it's not, motivation doesn't affect your wants. The intention is the true drive of your motivation. The result of what you did. It's like when you post something and you go, I know it's wrong. Well, then why did you think it was right enough to post? Well, I had nothing else to post. Now we're finding something out, right? Your intentions is not the same as your desired want.
Correct.
That's how I call BS all the time, because I'm listening. If someone talks to me, they're already losing. And why I say they're losing is because just tell me the truth. Like, you do not have to prove anything with me. You know what I'm saying? Anybody. I think it's ridiculous when people are trying to prove something. Like, there's nothing to prove. You're wrong or you're right.
It doesn't even matter.
It doesn't. It matters more that I have to waste my time. I.e.,
you're like, I could be having a cookie salad right now, and I'm in this debate.
Like when you compare it to an old post, I'm like, he's wasting my time. And then you're saying, no, it's helping me understand. And then I'm like, but you're understanding the wrong thing. You're focusing on what you think is important. And it has nothing to do with the tools. Why?
Because the tools filter whatever your intention is to create the post. Yeah,
it doesn't matter. Like, the post ends up being the post. But if you're trying to learn how to creative write, don't look at an old post. It's a poor post. It's like going back, you know what? I want to be a better writer. So I'm going to go back to my first book. And I'm going to use that as a guide. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I understand what you're saying.
Or going back and going, I wrote some really great songs when I started out. I'm going to listen to them and keep them identical. It would be a crappy song. Why?
Because there's no growth. It's just literally going backwards.
You had zero knowledge back then. Anything you listen to from when you were a kid, you'd probably listen to now and be like, oh, there's so much I could do. Your brain would just be like, wait, I could go so many different places.
I can have how many strings?
3. Do you know what I'm saying though? Like, I know deep down in my heart, you're not choosing to be right. I get that. Right?
Yes.
But the way your behavior is trained is the behavior of someone trying to be right.
And I need to be aware of my actions so that way that does not come off that way.
And telling me you're asking me a question when using poorly chosen words is still using the poorly chosen words. But you said places blame on me, that it's my fault that you wrote what you wrote, instead of you going, you're saying this is wrong. Why is it wrong? Not, but you said. Do you understand?
Yes, there's a difference in the way those two are presented.
Yeah, one is a question of curiosity. Oh, all right. Well, why doesn't this work? Which is also admitting it doesn't work. But you weren't saying it doesn't work. You were saying, but you said, and then you were placing that, what I said, into what you wrote. Therefore, not trying to prove it is wrong. You're trying to justify why it's right. And that is also a different mentality. And that's why I get frustrated and I go, well, I don't have time for that. You're wasting my time. You were already right. No. I'm trying to understand why it's right.
Why it's wrong.
Why it's wrong, right? Well, you're not asking those questions. In fact, if you were, you would be trying to disprove that sentence. That's how I would know you were serious. It's like going, is this good or bad? What's that have to do with me? Why are you asking me? Well, I want to know if I'm doing it right. Well, you tell me. And then you just read the sentence. You go, well, this sentence says that. So that means it's happening. And I go, well, that's not you even using tools. You know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying.
Because that behavior is I am right. The behavior to make yourself wrong is literally using the tools. But if you're not using the tools, you're not trying to prove yourself wrong. You're just saying, because I grew up and everyone had blue hazel eyes, that is the truth. And that's what the way you present your discovery is based on you being right, not you potentially being wrong. Do you see how I'm breaking it down?
I see how you're breaking it down.
I'm not saying you are doing it on purpose. I'm just saying that
the behavior is the behavior.
That's your behavioral training. I used to do that crap all the time. I can't be wrong. That's impossible. I don't know how I know this information, but
I got you.
You know, and it's never a judgment. It's just I'm telling you this stuff so you leave me alone. Because I don't like my time wasted. You know what I'm saying? Like, so if you're going to continue to do the same stuff, I'm going to just let you know what you're doing so you understand why I don't want to deal with it.
Which makes sense.
And I very much came out and says, I do not want to help you with this anymore.
You did.
Because you are literally ignoring me. But then you're like, no, I am not. I want to learn it. And then what do? You ignore me. You say, no, I'm going to try. You'll see it in my behavior. And then literally, what do? You post the same thing that you want to put. You're using the same mistakes. You're not even trying to justify it. You know what I'm saying?
I know what you said.
Yeah. So then I'm like, oh, see, he absolutely did not want my help. You know, and then it makes it easier for me to go, I made the right call. Because I didn't want to get punched in the face.
Look, good thing it wasn't punching you in the face.
Well, but the thing is, you were. Like, that's
literally.
That's how you punch me in the face. Like, that's how I feel punched in the face, is when my time is wasted. Or that, because I don't like arguing. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Because it takes up too much time. But the part that I don't like about arguing is that I'm proving a point. And then alternate whataboutisms come up, or alternate arguments come up. And I'm like, all right, I know what this is. You know, you got to stay on point. Like, what are we talking about? It has nothing to do with what you want to talk about. You know, like if I'm like, hey, chocolate cake, and you're like, yeah, but strawberry shortcake is the better cake. Yeah, but we're talking about chocolate cake, and we're not saying it's the best cake in the world.
We're just talking about the chocolate cake.
Chocolate cake, yeah, but strawberries. All right, let's talk about strawberry cake then. All right, what do you like about strawberry cake? Nothing. I know nothing about strawberry cakes. This is going to be a very short conversation. All they know is that
They're strawberries.
the strawberries,
And it's cake.
It's a cake, and it's the purple pie eater exists. With pineapple. You know the strawberry shortcake, the cartoon?
No. Oh wait, like a little like no. I'm not cultured.
What is it in life that you feel made you miss out on all the good stuff?
Well, the fact that I'm 10 years younger than you.
That's like I went back and saw stuff. When I was a certain age, I wasn't like, it's in the 60s. No, I was like, a bridge too far. Let's check it out. You know, like, oh, yeah, not someday, kid. Maybe not today. Maybe not tomorrow, but someday. Like, you know, I went back and saw that. Just because it's old doesn't, well, you know, it was before my time. Let me culture myself.
You definitely, you've done a lot more life culturing than I have, I believe, in a lot of areas.
Well, you know what it is.
You're looking for data and information.
Yeah, because it clarifies data and information. I'm not, well, let's use the Post as an example. If I go back and watch an old school movie, like an Alfred Hitchcock movie, right? There's no way people are filming movies that way.
They're not.
There's a couple things that have changed. One, film is now digital. No, just film, right off the bat.
There is no film.
There is no, it's just digital. So the expense of a film
has gone down.
And what else has changed drastically for the fact that there's no film needed? What is the major change?
You can take 1 million takes.
Nope. I mean, that's one thing, but what is the major change?
Multiple camera angles.
Anybody can try it. In the past, you needed a studio, you needed the money, and then like you couldn't try anything, like you couldn't be experimental. Film couldn't go any further than let's rehearse this as much as possible
and then do it.
And then do it because we got to get it in a couple of takes, right? So right off
El Mariachi.
What?
The movie El Mariachi, which is the prequel to.
Oh yeah.
Fun fact: every scene was filmed once.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
They just rehearsed it because they had such a low budget. They only had enough film to just film.
That's so crazy.
Once.
Just once.
Just once.
But my point is, you know, I will go back and I'll watch a film, but I'm not watching it to learn how to film at that point. What I'm doing is I'm learning how they used to tell stories so I can understand how to manipulate story. And what that means is if I look at an old post and the post isn't even an Alfred Hitchcock movie, what am I learning?
Nothing.
Nothing, right? So like, let's say students were able, like just anybody was able to film back then. And there was just like, you go on a YouTube in the 20s. You know how much stuff I'd have to go through that was garbage?
A lot.
But like, I can't believe any of it. I you know, if I watched it, I have to be like, oh, well, this is from the 20s, so it has to be right. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm studying from masters, but you can't, you know, to get better, you study from masters. So you can learn the process, so you can manipulate it and add your own flavor and change. But if you're learning from yourself, what are you doing? You aren't good. Not you, but just like, you know, when you're starting out, you can't be good. So if you go, well, let me look at what I did yesterday and see how I could do better. Yes, you're examining what's bad, but you don't know what's bad at all. So if I say to you, hey, JD, what's bad about this? And you go, I don't know. And then I break it down, and then we know by self-awareness, I have a memory like a soap dish. You go back, and we've had these situations where you go, oh, now that you're saying it, I'm remembering it, and I was misinformed. So you're not even asking me for advice to help you analyze it again. You're just taking what you believe, based on what we're talking about. You believe you are right because you remember it how you remember it. And then you use that knowledge to
apply it to the new thing.
The new thing to the wrong post, and then you try to write a new post. And then you perpetuate. And then I come in and I go, why are you doing that? Don't do that. It's wrong. You should be focusing on this. And you go, I'm just asking you questions. And then what do you do the next day? You focus on the old post to help you write on the new post. And then that happens over and over again. And either what I'm telling you is not good information, or you believe what you're doing is the right way, right? Those are the only two outcomes in that situation. because you're choosing to go back to your method because it's the right way. But if you believed it was the wrong way, you would at least try a different way. It doesn't mean my way is the right way. It just means your way hasn't worked.
So you need to find a new way.
But you're not doing that. You're just going back to your way. So that's why I always say it's the JD show, right? Because JD knows best. You believe you are right, which is what we're talking about, right? You believe. You know what I'm saying? Do you agree with that statement?
I 100% agree that doing the same thing over and over again is ridiculous.
But it's a statement of believing you are right.
Yes.
Because if you have alternate information and you don't try it, and you just go back to what you are doing, you are saying that this is right, and this isn't even worth my time.
That is what that would come off as, yes.
But you're saying that's not what it is.
No,
because you're saying that's what it comes off as.
Yeah, no, I'm saying like
that's
I
not
agree
definitive
with
though.
I'm agreeing that that's
what it is.
That is what it is.
Right, but not coming off as. Coming off as
then yes,
is the appearance
that
of, but not necessarily.
That is terrible. What you just said is a fact. Yes.
All right. Do you do that?
I have done that. Yes.
Did you do that the other day?
No. I do not believe I did.
All right. Let's just go through it.
I definitely write a lot of the same ways, but again, it's me trying different things.
Yeah, but you're not trying. You're actually not trying different things. You're writing different things. You're not trying different techniques. You're doing the same technique. So how do we prove that to be true?
Because it all just comes out sounding the same.
Hey, JD, what's one of the rules I tell you about time?
Don't use time.
All right. So 3 days ago, earlier this week, is that time related?
That is time related.
So you just said you have done it as if you are trying to justify it's not something you do.
Not on the regular. I do.
Okay.
I do have tendencies to revert back to things like that.
But why? Okay. So this is 4 days ago. A kid joined our latest pod stream with some humorous comments. Is that time oriented? Latest.
I suppose it is time oriented. Yes.
So you said your statement in a way that's trying to validate that it's not something I do. I have done it, but you're not saying you do it. You're saying I have done it, meaning like it's something that's gone. I have done that, but I moved on. And literally the last two posts, you use time reference, which is something we've talked about a long time ago, right? This is May 21st. This is the third post. We had a 3-hour conversation over the course of the podcast. Is that time oriented?
That is time oriented.
All right. So
then I am proven wrong.
But you said, I have done that. And that was you going back to what our show is today. You jumped to justify your value. You didn't choose to do it. This is a subconscious thing. Your instinct was literally to go, that does sound shitty and devaluing. I'm going to say that it's something I have done, because if it's something I have done, at least there's a chance I'm not doing it now.
Well, then
that's
we've proven that you are right again.
I'm not trying to be right.
You just happen to be right.
I just happen to be right. But you were saying it in a way.
And this is the value of what we're talking about.
Yeah, because okay.
I forgot what I was going to say. Brain fart.
This is where I would get aggravated, though. You know what I'm saying? Like, if we were having a conversation, because you just said, well, that's something I have done. And I'm like, no, you do it.
And we've just proven that it is true.
Now, if I just asked that without looking this up, I said, no, you do it, what would your answer actually be?
What?
If you just said, I have done that, and I says, no, you do that, and we didn't look up the information, would you believe that you do that? Now, obviously, we can't know what your true answer is going to be, because it's on a bias plank right now. We have evidence.
We do have evidence.
But what you had said would infer that you believe you do not do that anymore, or have not done it in a while. Would that be an accurate statement?
That's an accurate statement.
Okay. So let's see. What's another thing I tell you not to
ly words.
I mean, that's fair.
Don't use adverbs.
You don't need adverbs. Adverbs are horrible.
They're terrible. They're like zombies shooting with a shotgun.
What's something important? Stay on narrative.
Stay on narrative.
Okay.
Which is 100% an issue that I have with writing posts, which I'm 100% aware of.
Okay. So all you have to do is once you realize the next sentence has nothing to do with this previous sentence, you know that the narrative's off. But if you're always trying to prove yourself right,
that's an issue that I still am like going over with you, where I will apply the tools that you've given me, but I will not apply them correctly because I still do not understand them.
Because you don't use them with me.
Also because you said not to use them with you.
No. That's because you don't use them with me. So I told you to just stop using them. Because the issue is, you're like, let me go and let me try this again. Let me try the tools again. And I'm like, am I going to be a part of this? And you're like, oh, let me just focus on it. Let me try something else. So I'm not a part of the process. So don't tell me the reason you're not using them with me is because I said don't use them. The reason I said don't use them anymore is because you aren't using them with me, and that's making it so you can't learn how to utilize them. Is that an agreed upon statement?
Yes.
Because that's verbatim. You know what I'm saying? But carry on. What were you saying?
I totally forgot what I was going to say.
You have trouble using the tools. You don't understand how they work.
Oh, yeah. I just don't understand how they work.
Yeah. Why is that?
Because I just don't understand how they work. Because
No, you do. We do. We literally just had a fucking conversation about it.
I don't understand how they work because I will not go over them with you.
That's right. Okay. So your answer, well, because I just don't know how they work. Is that a proper answer?
That is not a proper answer.
Right. But we already just literally had a conversation about it, and you just did literally what our show's about today.
I did.
Do you see that?
I see.
That's in real time.
It's like magic.
But that's why it's a pattern behavior and not a conscious decision. It's the instinct to do. Anyway. All right. So narrative. So
the point is that I was going to say about the narrative thing is that I'll write sentences that I think, to me, sound like they're sticking to the narrative.
Yeah, to you.
And then we will break them down together, and then you'll explain it to me, and I'm like, oh, I see what you're talking about.
Yeah, but when I tell you to do it for me, you go, well, but it says. Or we're like, early this week, we had a video meeting with one of our clients. The feedback she gave on the first draft of the script left us proud to help. And I'm like, well, none of this has to do with adventure or narrative. This isn't even narrative. Early this week, we had a video meeting with one of our clients. So what is this post supposed to be about?
About the meeting.
Okay. So what do you say? The feedback she gave on the first draft of the script left us proud to help her with the first draft of her artistic vision. There's 3 narratives here. Early this week, we had a video meeting with our client.
Which is the video meeting. That's one narrative.
Period. And then the feedback she gave. So now it's about feedback. It's not about the meeting anymore.
Which is where I got confused. So
wait, there's more.
No, I'm just saying
that's.
Okay. I'm pointing out where I got confused.
But the rest of the sentence should have gotten you to think, because you're not even in an adventure. You're in the brain. This is inside thought. So the feedback she gave, this is all opinion. The feedback she gave on the first draft of the script left us proud to help with her first draft of her art. So that's the third one. Is now how we feel. We feel proud. But that's a lie. Why is that a lie?
Because we're not able to show.
Yeah, because we can't prove that. So right there,
it's wrong.
You know that this is, but you believed it was right.
I did, because I was attempting to do the thought process.
Well, we don't
narrative, but I was attempting to do something that is beyond my pay grade.
Yeah, and remember what else I told you? Don't try that, because it's advanced writing. And again, this is an example of my way is better than your way, Thomas. So I'm going to just do it the JD way. But if the JD way is literally not working,
don't do it.
But why do you do it? That's the part that makes me not want to help you with stuff, because it's crazy thought to me. Like, it's like he agrees that it's not working. He agrees that it's not the right way. He doesn't even want to try the other way. You know what I'm saying? And then, like, just because something is a hard thing to do doesn't mean you're ready to do it. But like, I'm trying to teach you the basics so you can take the basics and become an expert. You know, because if you know how to manipulate the foundation, you'll be able to grow
from there.
your ability with it, right? So the other thing you do is what? Leapfrog narrative?
Which is what just happened.
No, this is not leapfrogging narrative.
It's like leapfrogging narrative is just going from one thing to the next.
You only have 2 sentences and none of it's adventure, so we're not leapfrogging through the narrative of the adventure.
I see what you're saying.
This is just early this week we had a video meeting with one of our clients. That's not what's happening. That's what had happened
in the past,
right? But because it's not present in us acknowledging the past. But also, you're not supposed to be talking about time. And then the feedback she gave on the first draft of the script left us proud is an assumption. It's not even what's happening.
Because we can't prove.
We can't prove. And then a kid joined our last podcast stream with some humorous comments. Isn't it because it's an adjective? Comments are humorous.
Yeah.
Okay, we laughed at his lighthearted jokes during our initial introductions to one another. Now, believe it or not, a kid joined our podcast is what this is going to be about, but you made it more about his humorous comments. And then the second sentence is we laughed at his lighthearted jokes during our initial introductions to one another. So now it's not about the jokes, it's about introducing us, it's about us meeting one another. So it's a kid joined our podcast, then it's humorous comments, then it's we laughed at his lighthearted jokes, right? Which is the same as the second narrative. And then the third narrative is our initial introduction to one another. And then the break we took from the conversation was worth to welcome a new friend. So now it's about taking a break from the conversation, which is what it's supposed to be about. And then it's literally a fifth thing, which is welcoming somebody.
That's a lot of leapfrogging.
It's leapfrogging through the narrative. So, and I think we've had a conversation about this, and I said it wasn't good. And then you still posted it because you didn't have anything. And I says, well, why would you post it if you don't have it? Like you just because you know, well, we need to stay present. Well, staying present poorly
defeats the purpose.
Yeah. Oh, we don't have anything to post, so just post that photo of me drunk on the chair.
Yeah.
Would that be a good post?
That would be a terrible.
Well, based on what you just said,
it would be funny.
But based on what you said,
it would have been a bad.
It would be, but you said
there needs
you
to
got to be present. You got to stay.
There needs to be a purpose because everything we do must affect everything we do.
I know, but do you see? Like you did that with me during that, where I was like, why are you just posting crap? And you're like, well, you said that you had to stay present and be seen and be present. And you know, you just proved that wrong, which is what I want you to do. I want you to learn how to do that. You just proved it wrong by saying you agree that posting me drunk on a chair would be a bad post.
And that is the equivalent of the drunk chair post.
But you didn't try to prove yourself wrong. You just knew, well, it's all I have, right?
Yep.
Which is I'm right. Right? That's the mentality. I'm right. This is going up. That's all I got.
That is the mentality of I'm right, this is going up.
Right? It's not a judgment.
I know, because you don't judge.
I don't judge. Well, sometimes, like when they ask me to, like they pay me.
And they give you a gavel?
Yeah. One time they asked me to be the Simon Cowell of this like musical.
Oh my God, why didn't you?
I did.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
When that happened? How come I haven't heard about this?
But it's not 2011 or something.
This is literally like you were born to be that guy.
I was really nice though. I gave like you know, you're really good at this, but I don't think this is the song for you. You know, you're trying to blah, 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 right?
Also,
and then she got off stage and she was like very humble, but her friends were like, "Don't listen to him. He doesn't know what he probably can't even sing. He's terrible there." And then all the judges got to do their version of singing, and I sang Jekyll and Hyde. And you just hear after I finished the song, it's like, and everyone's clapping. And I did confrontation, and then you hear her like off in the back. It's like, I'm gonna listen to everything he has to say. But what's crazy is like it doesn't matter if I can sing. I was giving her notations as a producer.
Which has nothing to do with your ability to sing or not. It's just your ability to recognize what you're listening to.
Yeah, I don't think Simon Cowell could sing, but he definitely knows if it's good.
Yeah,
and you can tell because he's a multimillionaire.
Yeah.
That has made money on this is good or not.
He literally has.
Like if he says it's not good, all right, maybe I should reevaluate. Why isn't that good? No, it has to be good. I made it.
Which is
this. So, and also you'll see on that show, like, what is it? America's Greatest Talent, whatever. What is it? America's Got Talent. If sometimes they'll be like, oh, it's just not good. I'm not liking it. And you're just like, you don't know what good is. And you're just like, all right. This person is absolutely dealing with denial. Like they are right. But I am singing. It has to be good. My mama told me I was a good singer. Well, your mama has no capability of hearing.
Just because we have to communicate with sign language doesn't mean that she can't help.
Well, someone who was deaf ended up winning. Getting past, got a golden ticket.
For singing?
Mm-hmm.
That is crazy.
She was awesome, too. She was awesome.
That is impressive.
And she played a ukulele. And she had her feet on the ground, so that's how she feels the beat. The vibrations just move her, and she's like, all right, I'm on.
That's great.
Yeah. I think, if I remember correctly, she ended up going deaf. So she had like the Beethoven thing where she knew what notes sounded like.
And like knew what, I guess.
Why is my battery running low?
Oh.
Oh my God.
You plugged in?
Yeah, plugged in.
So.
Plugged in. I don't think it's working. Is the light on?
Yes.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
That's crazy.
That's ridiculous. Hey, we aren't freezing. Oh. All right.
We are. Hi, everybody.
Yeah. Let's see. 7%.
Ooh, just in time. 007.
Like even the internet's like, I'm good.
It's like, yeah, we're good.
Anyway. You were always right. I mean, obviously here.
I don't think I've ever felt like I was always right.
Do you feel you are right more often than you are wrong?
Not with you.
What does it feel like to feel that way? Because I don't know what that feels like. And I'll tell you why real quick. It's because I have never felt I am always right. And growing up with my brother Angelo, I learned the process of listening to understand.
Well, I also have never felt like I was always right.
But
more, I feel like I'm mostly wrong when I'm with you, mainly because you have such a wealth of knowledge.
And I have stupid knowledge too, because I'll bring things up. You're like, there's no blue people. What? There's blue people. Yeah, they're all related. No, they're not. They're all related. That's why when you were like, Jupiter doesn't, it does orbit around the sun. It just has a different gravitational point, but it does go around this. It literally goes around the sun. But I know what you're saying with it. Well, we defined orbit and right.
Yeah.
But it was just like funny because like it was like one thing. You were just like, I found this out literally today. I read 3 articles. That was where I was like, I'm gonna give as much pushback as possible because he's supposed to be well versed in this now. Like you gave it and then you're like, no, I was just saying it because it was cool. And I was like, all right. Then why did you say it was right? Like that, like when you said it to be cool, like you were like, oh, it's a cool thing. Like I just wanted, it was just cool. The thing that was blowing my mind is that you weren't admitting it was wrong. You were just like, it has to be right because I read it. And that was what was getting me to give you as much pushback as possible because the 2 statements they were misleading statements. I just said it because it was cool information. And then I gave pushback on the chance of it not being right. And then I also gave you information that it's probably still in the study period. It was like only 5 years old, right?
It's like minimum, I think.
It's like 5.
I don't remember the exact.
Yeah, it's not that old. So they're still in the process. They have to make it true. And I was like, once it becomes a standard, I was like, I'll believe it. But like I was like, right? But I wasn't giving. It was absolute. I was giving argument statements. But your stance was that this information that you found was right, 100%. Remember?
Yeah, I remember.
But I only did that because you said I only said it because I thought it was cool information. But you also
Is that what I said?
yeah, you said it because like after the conversation went on for a long time, I was just like, all right. He was like, man, I just thought it was cool information. I was like, but you believe it to be true. It is true. I was like, you just read 3 articles. That's all you read. I don't even think you read 3 articles. I think you read 1 article and then saw there was 2 others, and you were like, well, there's 3 on TikTok.
Oh dear God! It's about these mole people. It's about these little fairy troll things that live in your walls in Mexico.
By the way, I'm not saying that what that article was saying was inaccurate. I'm just saying that your belief in it, you had like utter belief, and like the information only lived in your soul for less than 10 minutes. You know what I'm saying? Like it was, you did not have what it. You know what? The hazel eye thing came way after that, and I think now that I'm sitting here, I understand the hazel eye thing, which goes back to the I have to be right, because it's just information that's in you now, and therefore, because you know it, how can you be wrong? You didn't have time to absorb that data.
But there's plenty of information that I know that it turns up being wrong, and I accept it for being wrong once I have new data.
Do you accept the Jupiter thing?
I accept the Jupiter thing.
But I'm saying at the time, you hadn't even absorbed the Jupiter thing, and you had to take that. I think that was a lot of the conversation on that following Sunday. My argument was you were taking the stance of this limited knowledge as an
absolute.
Yeah, like you were like, this is what it is. Do it. You know?
Do it now.
And that was the part I was really like, I was like hounding on. I was just like, but you don't even know. Like, how can you? Like, what if you can drive pigs? They can burrow in their ear and manipulate their brain. Yeah. Did you know that there are things known as zombie ants?
Oh yeah, what, they get the fungus?
Yeah, see that. But you know what I'm saying? Like, you didn't have enough time to gestate that data.
It was just, oh, look at this cool
Yeah,
thing.
and you were already, in the stance of an expert. You didn't feel you were an expert, but you were in the stance of an expert because you can't be wrong. I'm the expert.
Sure.
Did you feel you were right when we were having that conversation initially?
Yes. But I did not feel like I was an expert.
I understand you didn't feel, but you took this. I'm saying you took the stance of an expert.
I see what you're saying.
What we got? I think we have a comment.
We got a comment.
Yeah, what's going on?
Is it me?
I don't know. Hello. Hey, it's Ethan. What's up, Ethan?
Hello.
He's been listening for a while.
Howdy.
But anyway, I'm not saying you believed you were expert, but you literally it lives in me. I did enough research for it to be a part of my truth. And that was what I was actually, that's why I gave you the pushback, because I was like,
this guy over here.
I read that nuts can actually be eaten with the shell. All nuts? Yes, it has to be all nuts. Because I just...
Right, give me a bag of pistachios.
Do you know what I'm saying though? You know, like why it was funny to me.
I get why it was funny to you.
Because like it didn't make any, but it made sense now that we're talking for the behavior that you've grown that behavioral pattern to be right. Again, it's not a choice, right? Because you have the anxiety, you said, and you grew up with family that you're always fending and fight, right? So that creates the I'm right persona.
Defense persona.
The defense. But it is the defense, I'm right. That's the defense, I am right. You get it?
Yes.
So it is an I'm right persona. But
sense.
it's your defense mechanism.
Yes.
Well, it's one of. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just...
You're just pointing it out.
I'm pointing out that I am always right. I can't believe the computer was dying still at 7%. Can I live with it? Anyway. All right. Anything else you want to add to the show?
No, I think you made a lot of really good points.
You were very talkative today.
Listen, I'm here to listen and learn. Whether I'm going to retain the information, that's something completely different.
Now, when you talk about this episode this week, are you going to listen to the episode again to try to be like, oh, let me just see if I can capture something that happened?
Meh, probably not.
Oh, thank God.
Just blast it through the
I'm
speakers.
always like, what the hell's he doing over there? Oh, this is a part about me. I can write about me. I don't write about me. Oh, you don't? I think all the radio episodes, except for the last one, is like about you. Like you're like the way you were affected by it. Let me see if that's true.
I think that's pretty accurate.
I think that's true, right?
It's probably true.
And then like the post after that, you end up writing something about me. As like, well, I wrote about me.
I was doing the perspective wrong. I was doing it from either one of us.
I know.
And anytime I've ever tried to get inside your head, you're like, that's wrong.
Yeah, because you don't get inside my head. There's no reason. Look, here it is. This is April 26th. Thomas caught me off guard during our podcast. I don't even have to read the rest of it.
Done.
Let's see. Talking with Thomas during the last podcast brought up some sore points.
See? You're right.
This is good stuff. I listened to our new podcast episode while sipping my coffee.
See?
When the Jupiter discussion came up, it reminded me of the intensity between Thomas and I. We argued the semantics of how orbits, by the way, that's not an argument of semantics because I was using the definition of orbits. You were using a variation of what you believed it to be. You had the semantic. I had the definition. So it wasn't an argument of semantics.
It was the reason my stance during that conversation was I was taking the stance of those articles, which was changing the definition and the purpose of orbit. That's why it was the argument.
That's why I said you took the stance of an expert.
Yeah, and that's why I'm saying.
But I wasn't arguing a semantic.
Well, I'm saying I was in that purpose.
I just said that.
Yeah.
You're validating. You're trying to be right. You're validating your choice for semantics. I understand why you use the word orbit because of the articles. I got that part. But it still means only you were utilizing a semantic, a variation of the word. I was using a defined version of the word. That is a standard.
Yes.
So we were not arguing semantics. Because I didn't have a variation of the word that I was using. I wasn't like, no, orbit is like, when you have thumbnails, like I didn't just make up a word, a definition for orbit. Like I was like, this is what orbit is, right? That's fine. But what you're saying, you're trying to do, well, the only reason I was using
that's not what I was arguing right now. I was pointing out that us having two different definitions was semantics.
No, we didn't have two definitions. I had the definition. You had a variation of a definition that was not the standard.
Yeah.
You had the semantic.
Yes. Which
I didn't.
Yeah.
So we weren't arguing semantics. We weren't arguing.
Then I used the word incorrectly.
All right, be good, Ethan.
Ethan.
I'm just saying, look, we were arguing.
We were. But
we weren't arguing over the semantic. Like we weren't trying to prove orbit. Because orbit was correct for me as a standard.
Yes.
We weren't trying to prove that, I don't like this stuff. Come on. Oh, here's another one. What do you think this one's going to say? What do you think this one says?
Something ridiculous.
It's literally the same thing you say all the time. All three things start off the same. It took a lot to get through this week's episode with wet feet. That's what's wet. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
It took a lot. It takes a lot. It was a lot.
We'll
be right there, Periel.
Oh, doggy's calling us.
Logic automatically took over and my focus narrowed once we went live. My body was grateful for the release. It sounds like you're having sex.
Well, podcasts are just so orgasmic. I can't help myself.
This is you trying to define a physical representation.
Yes.
Which is not how we would do it. That's why it sounds so... This sounds like you're having a seizure. Seriously. This is like what what is an
aneurysm?
Not an aneurysm. It's like it's another word for it. There's another thing. In my head, it sounds like there's a B in the word. It starts with A. Embolism?
Embolism? Is that what it is?
Is that what it is? It's like right before you have a stroke or something like that, right?
What do you say?
Because an aneurysm is different than an embolism. Right? One is precursor to a stroke.
An embolism is the lodging of an embolus, a blockage-causing piece of material inside a blood vessel.
Yeah.
The embolus may be a blood clot,
yeah.
a fat globule, a bubble of air or other gas, amniotic fluid, a whole bunch of other stuff. That's a long list.
But it messes up your thought.
Yeah, it blocks your blood flow.
Yeah, so logic automatically took over, and my focus narrowed once we went like none of that makes any sense.
Yes, I agree with you.
And then my body.
It sounds.
My body was grateful for the release of tension.
Sounds like I'm touching myself.
Dude, this is a crazy sentence. Now that I'm reading, feeling comfortable makes all the difference in open. That's in the same post. Thomas, thank you, Tom, for being so. Holy crap, that's insane. Oh, here's another one. My leg wouldn't stop fidgeting during the podcast. I wish my focus hadn't been so narrowed on recalling personal experiences so I could have added more to the conversation. Thankfully, none of this is all you.
It is.
This is crazy. I want to be. Oh, this is you just copying my copy.
So yeah, I'm terrible at writing. We've established.
This is crazy though.
And I'm a terrible learner because I don't do the homework.
Hey, bitters. Well, you do homework you care about.
I'm saying I don't do the homework for this.
Yeah, because you don't care about it. You can't say wrong because the things you care about. I see you took Sunday to work on it, right? And you read a book and you're like, "Ooh, let me do the homework for this book."
Are you saying I didn't do the homework for trying to learn how to write?
No, well, you don't do it because you don't do it correctly. You don't use the process. You don't use my technique. You use your technique, which means you're not doing it. And more importantly, the things you care about, you put time into it. So you care about your technique. You don't care about my technique.
I am not doing my technique, and I did not do my technique today.
Is this? Yeah, but you're passionate about the thing you're working on, the homework you're working on,
which is the learning how to write.
No, the other thing. You started reading the book. You're like, oh, let me work on that today. Let me answer these questions. The other person gave you information. You're like, oh, let me get this work done. You put time into it.
Yeah, I've been putting time into
my effort, my way.
I have not been putting time into your way.
That's what I said.
I've been putting it into not my way either.
Everything I read was your way.
Yeah, no, that is. I'm talking about today.
Oh, just today.
Not just today, but
yesterday.
You're going back like weeks.
Well, these first three are literally the last 5 days. These three I read.
Yeah, but you're going back even further now. But yes, those are terrible.
These are your
things.
way?
Those are my way.
All right. So are they my way?
I'm confused. Were we talking about today or were we talking about this stuff? Because I was talking about today.
I said you don't care about doing homework you're not passionate about. That's why you don't do my way. You do your way. And I go to things you're passionate about. Like, for example, the book had homework assignments and you jumped on it as soon as you wanted to. And the other thing that you were told, you focus on it because it's about you. But because I came up with, you know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying. I'm agreeing with you.
I mean, if you don't agree with me, then I don't understand the behavior.
I know. But I'm agreeing with you because I'm not passionate about doing the process that you have shown me.
Yeah, exactly. But you're passionate about doing it your way. That's why you continue to post how you want. You haven't posted how
I have posted my way. Yes.
So you're giving me for the radio people. He literally
I'm making a funny face.
He made it look to me as if what I just said was insane.
I didn't. It was a funny face.
What was the face for?
Because I'm trying to process the words and respond.
Do you agree or disagree with what I am saying?
Repeat yourself, please.
I'm saying that you just do what you want to do because you care about, you're passionate about your method. and not passionate about my method. That's why you're not doing it.
I am not passionate about my method, but I do continue to try and grow. I am not passionate about doing it your way.
Yeah, so you don't even try it
anymore.
Ever. You do try it?
I do
you
not
want to go through it?
Well, the final product is not.
Do you know why?
Because it was.
You didn't do it my way. How do we know that? Because you didn't involve me in the process. You just asked me, is this good or bad?
That is true.
But you're saying you did it my way. But now you're agreeing you didn't do it my way.
The final No, I did not do it.
You couldn't have.
I did not do it your way.
How could you have done it my way?
I couldn't have.
If you were trying it my way, but without the actual understanding of the process.
I couldn't have.
You can't, right?
And I did not do it your way.
Are you just saying that to shut me up?
No, I literally did not do it your way.
You didn't, right?
I did not.
Okay. That's all you have to say.
I'm saying it right now.
I'm just saying. But you do it your way with ease. Meaning you choose to do it however you want to do it, which means you're not growing. Because if your way doesn't work, trying it another JD way doesn't work. And another JD way, because the way you try it is still in the JD process, that doesn't mean you are trying to grow.
Well, if I read other things and learn from other examples and other people, does that still count as a JD way?
Yes, because the way you process it is still the JD way.
So then if I learn from you and I process it my way, does that make it to the JD
I'm not
way?
asking you to process. I'm literally telling you to do it this way. If you literally just do it these steps, but you wrote things on the board today to understand the definitions and the way it's done, so your brain can understand your process. But the way you were explaining this stuff and then the way I corrected it was completely different. And that's why you wrote on with red marker to add my 2 cents. But what I'm saying is your initial reaction to the information is your process, and your process doesn't work.
So my initial reaction to the way you explained the process is not my way.
Correct, because you didn't try it my way, and you still haven't. And the reason that is because I told you to write something, and then the goal was you call me over, and then you're supposed to use the tools to break down what you wrote. But the way you use the tools, quote unquote, was it says blank, 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 and therefore it is right. And I'd be like, you can't just read this. I'm telling you it's wrong, but I want you to tell me why it's wrong. And then you couldn't do it because you just wanted it to be right, because your brain doesn't know how to prove you wrong. If your brain knew how to prove yourself wrong, your instinct wouldn't be that you are right.
Then you're 100% right.
Because if I'm looking at it and I say that's wrong, and I know it's wrong,
then it is wrong.
and your answer is, but it says this thing. And then you go, well, that's me actually asking a question. No, that's you making a statement. It says this, so that has to be right. That's not a question. No, I had an upward inflection. I go, all right, I want you to hold question marks. I want you to just be like, what's the period?
Oh, wait.
Do you know what I'm saying?
I know what you said.
Because I also proved that an upward inflection is not a question.
As everyone from the Valley will speak.
Yeah, but do you remember how cocksure you were about that it was ridiculous every time I said it, and you were just like, you're like, yeah, whatever. Like you didn't believe me. And then I finally gave you evidence of it.
And you proved me you're wrong.
And you were like, oh, geez, but it shouldn't go that far. All of that time is I am right.
Then you are 100% right.
No. What I'm saying all that time is your mentality, I am right. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
You didn't even put any time into proving yourself wrong when I told you upward inflections does not in itself indicate a question. You can have an upward inflection when you ask a question, but that doesn't make it a question. And you believed I was wrong. Because how can you be, you know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying.
You don't care. All right, you don't want to.
I'm having the conversation.
You're not. I am having a conversation. You're giving me.
You asked me a question and I responded. How is that not having a conversation?
Because you're not adding value to the conversation. You're doing what's known as endpoints. You're doing endpoint responses.
I don't know what else to add to a direct yes or no question without like just not answering.
Well, you have opinions when you're trying to prove your worth.
Well, I don't.
You go, the reason
I'm
we had
agreeing with you.
semantics.
I'm agreeing with you, so there's literally nothing for me to add.
Yeah, because you didn't agree with the thing I said earlier. That's why you had opinion, right? Because you were right. You didn't agree with me. You had to prove the reason you used the word semantics is because the definition that was in the 3 articles. See, in this, you're just saying, all right, fine, whatever. I don't want to talk about it. You're not.
Did I say I do not want to talk about it?
You're giving responses. Like you're giving me thumbs up. You know when someone texts you, "Hey man, happy birthday! I hope you really had a great day. Really proud of you. Keep doing it." Are they having a conversation with you?
They're sending you a thumbs up. They're not having a conversation.
But you're saying it is.
I did not say that.
You said you're having a conversation with me.
You asked me a direct yes or no question. I gave you a direct yes or no answer.
Which means you're giving me end responses.
I did not have anything to add to that question.
Exactly. You had nothing to add to it. It's an end response, and you're still trying to say it's not.
Maybe I do not understand what you're saying by an end response.
What is an end response? I just gave you a whole bunch of examples.
Are you saying it is trying to end the conversation?
No, it ends the conversation. Doesn't matter if you try. It literally ends the conversation.
Well, it seems that we have continued the conversation.
No, I have continued the conversation, and all you're doing is trying to not be wrong. That's the only reason you're talking. You're trying to. I don't understand what you're talking about. You're trying to. I don't know what an end conversation. You're not having a conversation with me. You're trying not to be wrong again, which is fine. But you're telling me you're not. We're having a conversation. I'm telling you we're not because you're doing end statements.
Well, then you have educated me.
And
And I am now.
That's an end statement. And that is also an end statement. Why are those end statements?
Because there's nothing for you to go off of to continue the conversation.
Or you're not adding value to the conversation. Agreement is not conversation.
I could say how
It comes off that way? No.
No. Can I finish my sentence, please?
Yeah, go ahead.
I can see how just agreeing to something does not add value to the conversation because it is not adding any new information. It is just going, oh yeah, you're right, 100%.
You're not adding to the conversation.
So your analogy of the thumbs up makes sense now.
What? You didn't get this? All right, folks. This is why we have trouble communicating. What did you think a thumbs up was like conversation?
Being polite without wanting to ignore the person.
Oh, is an end conversation point.
Yes.
It's an end statement. Even if you answer a question, see, I'm agreeing with you. You've ended the conversation. I have to keep the conversation going now. So you're not having a conversation with me. I'm keeping it going. Now, if you answer me again, we are still not having a conversation because a conversation takes place between 2 people. But if you're not giving back other than trying to defend your honor or just agreeing with me, you're not adding value to a conversation because a defensive position is not a conversation. It's now an argument.
That makes sense.
It's a defensive.
And that's how, that therefore becomes a debate because either person is defending their stance.
Yeah, you think when a lawyer is talking to somebody on the bench and they're like, "Where were you on Thursday?" and they're like, "Oh, I was at my friend's." They're having a conversation.
No.
Everything they say has to be an end conversation, an end point, or they're doing it wrong. They were coached wrong. Whatever they ask you, you just say flat out. So they have to think of something to say. So they can create a conversation, but you got to stop their conversation. You got to make them get frustrated. How do you do that? Well, what were you doing on Thursday? Hanging out. Now you're forcing them to have to answer you another question. With who? Chris. What were you doing? Hanging out.
Back and forth.
Well, how were you hanging out?
And that's how the lawyer murdered the person on the stage.
Are you asking how did we hang out as in like you believe we were hanging? Like outside something? Or what do you mean by hang out? You said you were hanging out. What does hang out mean? Well, it means different things. Do you want to know what I believe it means, or do you want? Is that a conversation though?
That is not a conversation.
But you were stating it was.
I was stating that it was.
Right?
So yes.
So you're still doing it. You're adding. What adding value means is having input into the subject. You're not adding input.
Which I'm definitely not doing.
You're at all. You're still not doing this is so crazy.
This is JD's last show. We're done.
Wait. 1 second. We gotta put up the last point.
One more. We got one more point.
Okay, here we go.
What's the last point?
All right.
Yep.
Oh my God. But do you see what I'm saying? Your whole point that we had to get you to agree with it not being a conversation was your stance was in the right position. You know what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying.
Your stance was I am right. And the thumbs up, because you were so right, you couldn't even equate the thumbs up example to the narrative of the conversation because you weren't listening because you were right.
Which makes sense.
Then I had to go through, and you're like, oh, now the thumbs up. You know what I'm saying?
It took me a minute.
It shouldn't, though.
It should. Which is the whole point of the topic today. Which is, don't be a butt.
Yeah, if I say you're not having a conversation, your best response should actually be, well, why is it that I'm not having a conversation? And then I say, well, because you're ending it with end statements. And then you go, well, what is an end statement? And I go, oh, all right. Now what are you doing?
I'm getting information.
No, you're adding value to the conversation because of intrigue.
Oh.
You're not just taking stances of end.
It's literally getting involved and feeling that sense of intrigue and curiosity.
Curiosity. And it might even come to the point where I go, what is an end statement? I go, oh, it's what you are literally doing, where you say, I agree, or you use a strong point that has no advanced value. And then you would say, oh, you mean like blank, blank, blank. And now we're having a conversation because you're adding value to the movement of the narrative.
And it's more organic and less robotic people.
It's not that it's robotic or more organic.
Oh yeah, no, these responses are definitely robotic.
Are they?
Beep.
See, I added to the conversation. How?
Beep.
Because I asked you a question.
Which is intriguing.
It's intriguing. But watch, do it again. Say your thing again. Say being robotic.
The answers are robotic.
Are they? Oh wait, then see, I naturally am interested. All right, do it one more time.
They're robotic.
Yes.
Beep.
But you see what I'm saying? Like you're taking away. It's also disrespectful. Did you know that?
I did not know that it was disrespectful.
Because if you notice, jury talk is not an ending statement. Oh, what do you do for a living? I play guitar. Because it's vague but informative.
And not just, you can't go off of anything.
If you said, what do you do for a living? You go, nothing.
That is an end.
That's an end statement. If you go, what do you do for a living? Some things. That's not vague informative because there's no information. Oh, this person doesn't want to talk. Okay.
Like, fuck that person. Smack him in the face a bit.
I'm not judging you with any of this stuff.
I know. Judgment's already been passed many moons ago.
Do you see what I'm saying, though? Do you think I'm crazy? Do you think do you think anything I said was 100%
I think
wrong?
you're crazy for completely unrelated topics. But you have very valid and accurate points.
All right. Okay. It's just I was having an aneurysm.
Should I call an ambulance?
No, because I don't have an ambulance. I mean an ambulance. It sounds like I'm saying ambulance, but I'm saying
Call an ambulance driver.
Call the ambulance. Do you know why it says ambulance backwards on the front of it?
So it comes up in the mirror, so you're like, oh crap, that's an ambulance.
Yeah, it comes up in the mirrors because it reflects off the mirrors.
Whatever.
Wait, I kind of want to read your post sexually for a second.
Oh god.
Let's see if this works out. Just give me a second. I have to do this.
Oh, you did that earlier.
No. I just said it was sexual. Let's see if I can do this. Where is it? I sat at my desk with my hands clasped in frustration, not understanding Thomas's lesson. The writing exercise was quick. No, that one doesn't work.
It sounds like you have to shit really bad.
I did. Oh. Thomas caught me off guard. During our podcast, when he asked me a series of straightforward questions. I think that one will definitely work. Let's see. Where's the body part? It's my favorite one. It took a lot to get through this last episode. Where is it? Oh, here it goes.
And there we go.
For the release of tension once the show ended. Feeling comfortable makes all the difference. Doesn't that? Is that German? Is feeling comfortable? Yeah, it helps to slide right in there, Bobby. Jesus Christ. I never realized the sexual. Yeah, you can't put that kind of stuff up. Please don't do that. I have to go back and delete that.
You gotta go.
It was just so comfortable. I can only play G, A, B, C for so long, but sometimes it sounds like I'm killing a set of bagpipes. A saxophone is hard to learn. I can play G, A, B, C so far, but sometimes it sounds like I am killing a set. My brother does better at venture posts than you do, and he doesn't even care. But do you see why it's an adventure post?
Because it went through his thought process and what he's physically doing.
Well, he set up the narrative. The saxophone is hard to learn, so he's having a hard time learning the saxophone. I can play, it's affirmative. I can play G, A, B, C so far, but sometimes it sounds like I am killing a set of bagpipes. Which, by the way,
Just texture.
Yeah, it's audible texture, because he's not saying it sounds bad. He's literally showing how it sounds bad. He's creating an idea.
But it also sounds like a joke, which I'm also not allowed to do in my exercises.
You're not allowed to do a joke. And this probably was meant to be a joke, but it could come off not as a joke because it's still a good definition. But he does look like Sam.
I mean, he definitely does.
Have you seen that film?
Oh my god. That's funny.
I
He definitely does look like Sam. Could we get him a hat?
tried.
Would he be like, I'm going to murder both of you?
And that's when the son of a bitch cold cocked me. He's so funny. All right, that's it, I guess. We'll go back to ignoring each other. People don't know this, but JD and I actually, we stay on opposite sides of the house, right? And we use cups with wire.
Oh my god, we definitely need to do that.
Yeah, but mostly I keep mine next to the speaker, so when he hears the response, it's actually him. And that's why he keeps the conversation going, because now he's interested.
Totally.
See? You ended the conversation. You don't agree with that? Do you like talking? Just not to me.
Not really.
You don't like talking?
I like talking for the purpose of listening to people.
But you're a terrible listener.
I'm gonna say I do a good job.
hey, can I start this conversation? Yeah, why? Oh, I just wanted to listen. Oh, is that why? Oh, you just answered the question. What question? Why you wanted to have a conversation with me? Oh, because I just want to listen. You already answered that. Oh, you asked me a question? I just want to listen. I just want you to know that I'm just here to listen. All right, well, you want to add to the conversation?
No.
No. All right, well, I'm going to go. Why are you going? Because I don't want to have a conversation with you if you're not going to talk. But I am talking. I know you are talking.
And that's how I got strangled.
Does that sound just like lately what happened last 2 seconds ago?
Yeah, no, that's pretty. You should be one of them impressionist comedians.
I am an impressionist. I stick people's faces through walls that aggravate me, and I make an impression both on them for future interactions and impressionist TJ the Thomas. All right. I guess that's it. and